Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Infinite, not the Internet. I'm not claiming to be that broad. I was already deciding. Yeah, I was already deciding if I was going to introduce it with the episode title, and I got caught up in that. But we're here for episode 2. I'm joined, as will be the case most weeks, but not all weeks, by our 5 core cast.
I open my character.
Say hello and open your character sheets.
Hello, and open your character sheet.
Only Andrew's that kind of awful.
Only in the morning.
I considered being that kind of awful, but Andrew was faster.
I was wondering if everybody would do it. I was like, I'm not sure how I feel. It's worse that one of you did. That's the worst outcome. Last session, we found our spacefarers, kind of for disparate reasons, drawn to the Heart space station in sort of central-ish Imperial space. They had all arrived for various reasons, many of them having downtime, others working, some looking for work. And then the entire space station exploded under a flurry of attacks from 4 battleships, essentially. But the 5 of you, along with a man who goes by many names, escaped on a spherical ship, blinking out of existence and reappearing somewhere in the vast reaches of the infinite galaxy. This week, we open not on the bridge of the infinite, not in the engine room of the infinite, but swirling within the glass orb of yellow miasma and black tentacles, as we are transported back through time, further and further and further. It does that thing at the bottom where it has the current star date of like 973 Imperial, and then just goes to question mark, question mark, question mark. As we see the surface of a planet thick in this yellow fog. The planet is breaking apart, much like we saw the Heart last week. And as it breaks apart, we start to see tendrils of black ripping the planet open from its magma core itself, as this giant black tentacle squid wraps itself around the molten core of the planet, consuming it and growing ever larger. We see this entity grow and pull itself to a nearby moon, bigger than anything that any of you have ever seen. And then we flash forward to it slamming into the glass in front of Nyx. As it says, in your mind, it says, the crew, bring everyone to me.
I think Nyx, their back of their neck has a frill that's usually condensed and like lays down flat against their neck and spine, and it just kind of comes up a little bit in startlement, and then wide orange eyes. She just sort of staggers backwards, still staring at the orb, to slap the intercom. I don't think she's processed any of these words whatsoever. So she just default goes, Conifer. This is definitely no root system, but I think it makes up for it just a little bit. Oh yeah, it wants to see you, all of you. Just come down the hall, won't you? And then you hear the hiss as the intercom remains on. Her palm is still slapped against it, and she's just watching.
That Nyx got to the fasten light was that it was basically the path that Teresa had turned the lights on for you to make it easier instead of you just flailing your way around the ship. What do the rest of you do?
I guess we were kind of still on the bridge as I hear this. I look at the others. After you.
How well do you know this ship exactly? Kidren talking to
Yeah. Valve like looks at you, like shakes his head slightly. Not that well.
Kidren re-pulls out their shotgun and follows.
Conifer will go find whatever, like, the way to respond via the comm system, and go, do I need to bring tea? Would tea help?
Nix, can you make me a willpower skill check before you can answer?
Yeah, sure.
It sounds like tea would definitely help.
He is good.
Let's see, trying to remember what my will is. Willpower.
Probably good.
I thought it was pretty decent, but I just managed to close up my character sheet while looking for it.
I said open your character sheets at the start of this.
I did. I actually had mine open before, but that was the problem. All right, so that's actually only 2, which is not that good.
You don't like knowing what you need, right?
Yeah, nope. It's probably failing whatever willpower check that is.
Yeah, as soon as you finish talking, you hear in your head, flailing weak creature. And it just like puts you into a static like hold where you can't think. You can hear the intercom, but you just can't interact with anything.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You just go into this like stasis.
Sounds about right.
So you don't know if you need to kick tea.
I think not hearing an answer, even though I didn't care about the answer, causes Valis to pick up speed slightly.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Lucira's already just booking it, being like, that doesn't sound that didn't sound like a request. That sounded like a cry for help.
You head out of the bridge, so you walk up these white stairs to an elevator, which you get in. The elevator automatically takes you down. Teresa's still kind of controlling the systems. You don't have a computers expert to try and bypass that because they're currently in stasis. It pulls you down low into the ship. You can feel yourself dropping down into like the lower fin part of the ship, and then it opens into a walkway across which the lights are all on, directing you forward. Valis, probably Valis and Lucira, having both served on bigger ships before, you can kind of tell that this walkway, because it has automated lifts that come up to it, this walkway probably walks out over the cargo bay. But as you continue forward, you keep walking. You all feel like everything is normal as all of the light surrounding you dissipates, and then you're in the room, and Nix, you snap back into consciousness as you all see this big, thick glass orb. Yellow miasma swirling. The miasma has much more form than mist. It's almost like a dense, sickly smoke. And a black, tendrilled tentacle kind of twirling the miasma and doing these kind of barrel rolls within it as it, like, you aren't really sure how much of this you're seeing, but it's just twirling itself through. And in all of your minds, it says, "Welcome, my crew."
I do not like that.
Thinking like what tack I want to take. Well, hello there. Can I get your name, good captain?
Make me a charisma check of some kind, a leadership check.
Not that good at this.
In the background, Nyx is just like examining her hands and like moving slightly, testing her ability to respond to the world around her.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that helps. The entity, you can feel like a respect for your subservience. Says, "I hope you are the one that declared themselves vice captain."
For now, I kind of feel like we're all vice captains here at the moment, don't you?
He's vice captain.
I certainly would have a preference. I am Umoak.
Oh, where could you spell that for me?
Yeah, he spells it in like a bunch of very not like a common language, but I will type it in Dice Witch for you just to be nice.
I feel like I know how you spelled it, but I'm not sure.
I have a tendency to want to spell things in a way that annoys you,
Yeah.
but
Oh man, I got close. I put a Y in there.
it had a Y at some point.
I spell it like Heroac, but Weroac.
All right. Anyway, you find yourself in my home, and now you have taken the responsibility of its crew, it seems.
Conifer will.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you are taking the lead in this situation. I think that's great.
I just wanted to make an understanding check. Like, so this thing was impounded. Do I think it is trapped? And how much control do I think it actually has? I don't know how much power as I like glance around its container.
You can make an understanding check. It's not the best skill for what you are after, but you can certainly make an understand check. If you just crit again, life is easy.
Nah, it's only a 15.
This ship, even with a 15, this ship had been impounded for 6 months, and the computer turned on immediately when you walked onto the bridge, and it doesn't really seem to have like an internal power issue or anything like that. So while you potentially think that it can't necessarily do stuff on its own, you think, because why would it be there if this thing could do that? With a 15.
Conifer will approach the glass orb situation and will like lay a palm on it.
Do not touch the orb.
Okay. Conifer will not do that then.
I do not at this point wish to hurt you, but touching the orb would perhaps kill any of you.
Oh dear, thank you for the warning. My name is Conifer. My designation is 3FL-A2, but I prefer Conifer right now. We are more than our names, and you have only given us your name. I'm trying to figure out purpose. What's yours right now?
Well, 3FL. I require my crew to take me to a planet.
Yeah, question about that. What happened to your last crew?
When one is ageless and one's crew is not, sometimes you find yourself without a crew.
That does not make me feel any better. I don't know about the rest of you, but
Oh,
I didn't want to get on this ship.
I
This is the ship we got
apologize.
on. Because
Everything with the crew was fine, and nothing bad happened to them.
Does the voice in
we
our
don't have
head
insight here. Can I
does
make
he
a
sound
check on that?
sarcastic?
You don't need to make a check. He is not good at soothing you, but he was attempting to.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like, oh, I should have been more less blunt, but I'm bad at that.
Okay.
Also, it doesn't work after you've told the truth. He says, the accord is simple. One of you chose to become the vice captain. I am happy to float in space and wait till you all perish and find a new crew. Time means little to me, as I am now. But I would prefer you aid me in traveling to Dallas Prime.
So
What's
can we
on
get
Dallas
a
Prime?
can we get a reason, or are we keeping up this whole mystery thing?
I am but a shell of my former self. I would like to return to not be confined to this ship
Oh, it's your home!
In a fashion, I did also say it was my home.
I glance at Lucira and just under my breath say that I don't know, I feel like we're saying next to each other while the rest are a little bit closer. Say, yeah, I don't trust this thing, and I think we should play along up until the point where we can get the fuck out.
Hi, can you make me a stealth check with intelligence?
How quietly are you whispering?
With the
Well-
telepathic beast in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. With int, less good step. That's better. 18.
Hey, at least you
Well,
weren't
as you
planning
can
to
see,
kill it.
he rolled a 27. So
Oh, I didn't see that. That was what that roll was for. I don't think I was ever going to succeed.
I mean, not everything's a level 1 character. It says, I would prefer to do this through an air of cooperation, but I can assure you that your choice is to die in space or die sooner if you'd like to touch the orb very soon. Or we could travel to Dallas Prime. As I said, time is not really an issue. I don't mind when we get there. But rest assured, I will know if you're being duplicitous.
Lucira just kind of had been prepared to give just a single curt nod to oh my god, I completely forgot your character's name. I'm so sorry. Valis. But instead just kind of gives him a side eye and goes, of course. Would I have heard of Dallas Prime before?
Anyone that would like to roll about that can make me an. It is in Imperial space, but it will be an Outer Rings lore check. Anybody that would like to know about Umoak can make me a spirituals roll.
Should I do that with intelligence?
Yes. I mean, you can pick whichever you like.
Oh,
You can do charisma, and you'll know. Rolling high enough will let you know about the planet. It just changes why you know about the planet and stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna do intelligence. Nope, it's 9.
There's a lot of planets, sadly.
We don't know nothing.
I've been on ships too long.
Hey, 9 crew.
Hey.
Both of you don't know anything. All three of you. Was that? That's spirituals.
Yes.
You can immediately tell that the form that this is taking is something that is connected to a more spiritual plane. The way it affected you in particular, you can tell that is towards that realm. Man, you're all so knowledgeable about the Outer Ring. Yeah, there's like so many planets. You haven't heard about it. It's not like a major hub or anything like that. Like looking around, you note that none of you have really heard of it.
You know, Mr. Wirek, I've never been particularly afraid of my own mortality in space. See, I grew up in a flotilla of ships. I knew I was going to die out here in the cold reaches of the stars one day or another. I'm curious is, there's anything else you can do for me? Something more than just not dead.
How about the fact that when I no longer need the ship as a home, the ship is of no importance to me?
Yeah, thanks about it.
While this is going on, is this a full broadcast whenever one person speaks?
Yeah, it talks to all of you because it like has no interest in interacting with one of you individually when you're all in the room. It like wants all of you to get all the information so it doesn't have to double explain things.
All right, so Nyx is looking around this ship because it seems to have been designed very much with the critter in mind. And they're thinking about what it would require to make this ship run without this creature that is in the place of the faster than light drive, if it'd be a complete overhaul, if it was just a minor tweak. Can I roll applied engineering?
No, you're good enough. at applied engineering that you just know that you would have to put a faster than light drive in to then travel at faster than light. It has a system level engines that are traditional, like you can see that from the way that it's moving even now. But the fast and light drive is currently a giant primordial spiritual squid.
Kidren speaks up, with still holding the shotgun, not aimed at the orb, but just has it. So, Umoak. I get the sense that this isn't exactly the. Well, I feel like you haven't talked to anybody in quite a while, so I'm not really sure if you've forgotten exactly what trusting something is. We don't really have a reason to trust you exactly. You're not exactly the most hospitable thing we've seen today, which is kind of counting for a lot considering where we just came from.
Kidren, I don't want to put a damper on this. I feel like you're not the... You've been dealt quite a good hand of cards. I don't think we have that much to negotiate with.
What more would you like from me?
Well, first off,
in
Crew
this exact
reserves the right
moment
to ignore the vice captain. But
See, this
It chuckles a little bit.
This is what I'm talking about.
Lucira like visibly frowns at that. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, I feel like across the party, Valis, as the vice captain, doesn't love it. Lucira doesn't love it. The chuckle that comes from Umoak is more of like, well, that will be fun. Like, that's a fun dynamic that you seem to have decided to have. But it says, again, what more would you like from me in this exact moment?
if our options are trusting the weird entity that we just found floating in a vat in a ship that we have no real knowledge of, or death, either, well, one being the actual case, either seem to be able to lead to that conclusion. Is there anything that you can offer as assurance?
I might have missed this out of character. Did this guy talk about why we ended up in the middle of space at all yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No. It says, well, all things could lead to death. Time eventually leads there. The choice is between death now, immediately and certainly, or soon. Or that you have agency to save and protect yourselves as you travel the universe to Dallas Prime.
So you're saying that we'll die if we don't listen to you?
I do not claim to be omnipotent, nor can I see the future, but yes.
Try to cut through the tension.
Sure. Also, you can make an understanding roll, Kid, because it was directed largely towards you.
Mm-hmm. If you wouldn't mind me asking, Umoak, so that I fully understand the circumstances here. Do you know why we jumped so far and so fast? And was that your doing?
Yes, I used the last reserves of my energy to escape. In that moment, I had been slumbering. And when you took over the dereliction protocol, I was awoken and could sense that, let's say our impending doom, well, yours, again, it's hard to kill me, was at hand, and I would rather have the ship than not have the ship. And you happen to be on board. Kid, that was definitely a threat, but it wasn't a threat that, like, if you don't agree, you're going to die right this second. Like, he's not, well, he probably could, you get that impression, but he's not going to just immediately vaporize you. But this is also the fast and light drive of this ship, and there's only so much you can do in one sector of a galaxy.
Yeah.
Nyx at this point has kind of slowly wandered away from the intercom and popped up, probably between Conifer and Kidren. And
I will
leans-
say, Vice Captain, that energy had been stored over many, many, many decades. I cannot simply project you through space again.
Well, I want to know, Mr. Werewolf, which suppose you don't really have to
It's-
answer, but
Just to be clear, it's not Mr.
Sir Werewolf.
No, I mean, gender is a concept that means nothing to me. I am the only Wirowak.
That's pretty good. It's a
Trying to
weird
give
name.
you the proper. I will call you Captain. You're Werewolf.
Captain's fine.
It's gender neutral. What I want to
Nyx
know
cleared
is if
his
you
throat.
did it on purpose or not, knowing that we
I-
were on the ship.
I intentionally, knowing that someone had taken over the dereliction protocols, expended the energy. I did not have time to decide where we went.
Okay, so you did not choose to drop us all the way in the middle of nowhere.
No. Also, I don't really know where we are.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, good.
You, the flaily one. The tendril-like gestures to where Nyx is.
Okay, I look around
Nyx-
like who's the flaily one.
Yeah, I'm like,
Nyx looks briefly at Conifer to check that Conifer is not in fact the flaily one, and then says, "So just to be clear, your preference is that we not call you sir, right?"
My preference at all times is for accuracy in things.
Then in that case, their name's Conifer, and they're pointing at Conifer.
Conifer will nod graciously and also grasp at your sleeve just a little bit, in a comforting sort of way.
My D20 gone. Okay. It kind of brings its full, as much as it can, full blackness towards the front, and to Conifer says, "Conifer, then."
Today. Maybe not tomorrow.
Swivels slightly to Nyx and says, "I think I have missed something in this interaction. But, do we have an accord? Do I need to begin to find energy with which to power movement?"
Life support's the first option. That movement's necessary, but we can wait on movement. And then she looks to the others and says,
You get an immense burst of an understanding in how the mechanics of this ship works, surface level. In a moment, you comprehend. Almost all of the electricals and other things are generated by ambient power that this thing just puts off. There is a generator that then turns it all into the ship movement. Life support is always on unless specifically that generator is damaged. Weapons are always on. Lights are always on. The elevator will always work unless Teresa has stopped any of them, because that is the computer's power.
Nyx is just staggers with this sudden influx of what I'm assuming was psychic knowledge.
Yep.
Is that and so Nyx just kind of because Conifer's already holding their sleeve, just kind of leans that way and says, "Oh, these are really those are quite robust systems. Vice crew, we don't have much to worry about. Well, I mean, something could always hit the generator. What are the current status of those generators, Captain?"
The creature, you sense a pulse of energy, and the ship's computer comes on and says, "All systems, all mundane systems, 100% operational. Fuel reserves at 0%.
Oh
Nyx
dear.
has all and just settles back. She's fine.
Nyx has 0 that there's no fuel.
Werewolf, where would you find this energy?
Well, much like your friend here, it's not immediately apparent who they're talking about. I do generate some energy over a short period of time. Simply to move in a system to system, planet to planet basis, I can do that after a couple of days of rest within one system. Faster than light travel requires more energy.
So we're just stuck here for a couple days, no matter what.
It seems that way.
Okay.
It tries to think about time in a way that makes sense to you, and like you can kind of tell because the swirl it starts to knot itself as if it's like twirling its own body around itself as it thinks.
Like twirling hair.
Yeah, like a tick almost. Yeah.
How I'm curious, like how well can we see this? Is this like, I don't know if you've seen Arrival, but is this like an Arrival situation where like there's a very thick
Exactly
and it's
what I'm
all
thinking.
like shadowy smoke and like we can't really make out
You
detail?
can never really see all of it, and all you can see are these giant black tentacles.
I'll take that as a yes.
Oh
I
wait,
haven't seen it,
it's
but-
black. What was the yellow bit? I wrote
It's
that down wrong.
got a yellow miasma around it that seems to be atmosphere within the orb. It says, I think it would be somewhere in the vicinity of once every 40 days I would generate the power to faster than light travel alone.
If I may, how do you do that?
How do you regain power?
Well, there are a lot of different ways. Sometimes I take a quick little nap, or that's what the life equivalent is. I think that you're a living thing. I can plug myself into something.
Do you not have and it kind of like you get the feeling that it's seeing through you? Do you not have a generator?
Yes,
Well, while I am
but
a living thing,
it's not an infinite, like, self-cycling source. There are things that feed into it, and there are things that come out of it, and eventually it does wear out.
How about this? How does hair grow?
If I may cut through, I have a strong suspicion that Conifer is asking what you might consume in order to.
Oh, I can
generate
consume
energy.
largely anything. I was once known as Umoak the Insatiable.
That's not comforting. Is it comforting to you? Any of you that have that name?
Well, why do you have that name?
I did not name myself beyond Umoak.
So the deeds that you did is what labels you the Unsatiable.
Well, I consume things for energy, perhaps that is it. But yes, in the past.
That seems unfair.
Do not all living creatures consume for energy?
Look, about like 5 hours ago, I had a burger, but no one called me the Insatiable. So I feel like we're talking about two different extremes here.
With I'm sorry, what's your name?
Umoak.
No, sorry, I'm talking to Kidren.
No. Oh yeah, you don't know each other yet.
I don't think I ever got Kidren's name.
Kid.
Kid, Lucira. I have to agree with you there. I also was having a nice meal about 7 hours ago, and while I had a lot of food, I wouldn't have been called insatiable for that. That's a very specific name to get.
I think that we're all very tired, very distraught, perhaps, from our well, a space station just exploded behind us, and now we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. So why don't we all just take a minute? I think we all want to go to the nearest space station that we can find, some refueling place. That's agreed amongst the group. Why don't we do that and then see where we're at with the captain?
Fine.
Is there a station around here?
And none of you know where you are, and none of you have looked at star maps.
I think that's a question for Teresa.
But it seems to be happy with you deciding to go and rest. Not necessarily that it will take you to a space station, but you can rest for now. You have the full access to the ship as you like. Again, do not touch the orb. I cannot stress enough how much you should not touch the orb.
No more touchy.
Is there anything else of immediate concern? You know, things that might just instantly kill me if I'm fiddling around with them. That's really important for me to know. I just
Don't get inside the engine.
standard practice. I can work with that.
Don't leave the ship in the middle of space with no preparation.
Yep. Also,
Have you
standard
been on a
practice.
ship before?
Mhm.
Much
Yep,
of the
yep.
same things apply.
Okay, but nothing else special like orbs.
No.
Got it.
No.
Can I make an understanding check to see if Nyx was being truthful about having been on a ship before or not?
Sure. Yes, you can.
That was very non-committal,
I like-
and I just want to know.
It's an incredible thing to check because Lucira would have to believe that Nyx grew up on the heart, which could happen.
Just cause I just want to see.
I like it. I want you to fail this
Yeah.
so badly.
No,
It's not hard, but I really want you to roll
Should
a
I do
one.
charisma then instead of wisdom?
Yeah, you're it's
Oh, excuse me,
charisma.
wisdom,
You're
wisdom
on.
instead of charisma.
No, it's charisma. You only fail really on a one.
And Lucira's head. She's like, man, Nick,
23.
she's taking this really well for her like home being destroyed.
23.
Yeah, no. Nyx seems like they've probably been on a ship before.
Okay, that was just because of the weird situation. Okay.
Yeah. No. Well, it could be because of a weird situation, but I think with a 23, you just realize that Nyx is just fucking awkward.
Yeah, it's the awkwardness of Nyx.
Yeah. Okay.
but-
Great.
As I said, you can avail yourself of all that the ship has to offer. There is food.
How old?
It's flash frozen. It thinks for a moment. Says, the last time I was crewed was within 2 years. It's probably fine. Anything that's not fine, I will eat for energy.
Cool,
We can go
so-
check that before we all take a rest. Lucira kind of massages her ribs where she hit the ground earlier from the depressurization in the heart. Because let's check that out and then we can I'll go take a nap.
Give me 1 second, because I will
forgot.
roll this in.
I forgot Lucira got hit with a fucking laser.
Yeah, I did.
Also, Nyx has gone very quiet as the captain has mentioned that it'll just eat whatever for energy with no visible mouth parts or ability, and I'm just rolling spirituals in the background there.
Sure. Make a willpower save, Lucira.
Oh, great. Oh, good. I have 2 skills into that. $21.
Well, that does not beat this thing's DC. You feel it trying to do something to you, and you naturally have the urge to resist because you're suspicious of it. But it overcomes that resistance, and you feel your body lighten, and your ribs start to loosen where that pain was, and you heal any damage you have, and your condition goes up by 2.
My condition? I don't know what that is.
Basically, you'll get +2 to all your saves if it's that 2. So just mark somewhere that you're at condition 2, because it will fluctuate. Nyx, you rolled a spirituals check in the background that you criticaled for. I don't really understand. Do you just want to know how it consumes things?
She was more interested in its physiology in general, including the consumption of something that it doesn't physically have access to. What is it doing?
So this was extremely difficult, but you crit. It was like DC 35, so you still don't get everything. But as you're thinking about what you saw, and you're looking back out towards the walkway where the lights are back, that walkway is further away than it should be. This room takes up space in a way that it shouldn't. And you realize that in that darkness, when you walked forward before, this whole room, which is spherical, used to be the orb, and the glass was very thin. And it seems that this creature can extend the orb within this room to encompass everything in it to consume. If it was of want to do, and it could have done that to you instantly at any time while you've been in this room.
Nyx just swallows slightly and looks over at Valis and says, "Yeah, I think rest is a really good idea."
Ask Teresa of where things are on the ship.
Just lead Nyx away.
Yeah. You are all welcome to come and ask me questions as you like, but I do need rest to generate energy quickly.
Sure. I begin to step out.
Yep.
Nick
Yeah,
and
kid
Joe.
does that thing where like
Nyx has got Conifer still.
kid walks out, but they're doing that thing where they're like kind of walking out with like a sidewalk, so like they're still looking back at the orb while they leave.
As you're looking
Are you
at
the
the
last
orb,
one out?
Probably.
Okay.
as you're
Lucira's
looking
just
at
walking right in front of you.
as you're looking at the orb, Alejandro walks past you, who was here the whole time but didn't have anything interesting to say.
As will often
Oh,
be
like-
the case, I suspect.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not really that big a part of this. But as you're looking back, make me a perception check, kid.
There we go. Just 11.
You're watching it. You're watching the orb, and that thing that happened as you walked in, where everything became dark and it felt perfectly normal, happens, and you don't see anything, and then you're facing in the other direction, watching everybody else walk down the wall. It feels weird. You're aware that something strange has happened, but it doesn't strike you as strange enough that like you can work out anything about it.
Yeah.
You could keep going back and forward between that thing if you wanted to really see how that worked.
Kid will just note that for later, and we'll just. It currently has a mental list of weird ship doing weird ship things.
The lights are all off except to lead you back to the bridge. You're welcome to wander off into the darkness if you like, but otherwise, who would like to just go back to the bridge?
Kidren is walking with purpose, like behind Valis.
You've shouldered past me.
You all head back to the bridge, and you hear the computer say, "The captain has granted you all free reign of the ship." You feel like a flare of lights, as even more lights in the bridge, which is already very bright, turn on, and the ship says, "All lights are on. If you need to know where anything is, I can describe it. We do not have an interior ship map. You may be better off exploring on your own."
I'd. And then Nyx just goes quiet again.
May I ask, Teresa, do you have a system map? Preferably with
star
our
map?
location? Yeah.
I would need somebody to do the astronavigation calculations to work out where we are. I do not have the capability to do them myself.
I glance around at my companion.
Kidren somehow gives the psychic knowledge that they only have a +3. And we'll look.
Kid's got like kid's visor comes up and says +3.
Yeah.
Like a really meta joke on kid's visor.
Nyx just like shrugs. Computers, but not really star maps.
Surely one of you has astronavigation.
I think
Oh,
nobody
I
took
do.
it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have 2 in it. I have 2 ranks in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got like a +3.
Teresa.
Sorry.
So Teresa
Not yet.
says.
My caffeine hasn't kicked in yet.
Teresa says, "Just need somebody to deal with the star maps."
Like the idea of Teresa just being like, guys?
Idiots.
I can take a look.
A console like on the rails that now you all notice. Valis had already seen this the first time. This room moves modularly and moves a console that seems to be the navigation console to directly in front of Lucira, and a chair to behind Lucira.
I
Um,
haven't been on other ships before where they don't do that. She's kind of like,
no ship does this. It's
Yeah.
like so cutting edge to have like a modular bridge.
she just
Make
got like
me
her hands are up. She's like, what the fuck? All right.
make me an astro navigation check.
Tea is gone, and I'm gonna hopefully
So
have caffeine.
the way this is going to work, it's extremely difficult, and the roll that you get is how long it takes you to work out where you are.
21.
So you start doing like the vague calculations, and the way that it works is that Teresa's like presenting you with numbers, and you're putting in like your memory of stuff. You're very good at outer ring astronavigation, like much better than you would be in Imperial space. But these numbers seem off to you, like they're bigger than they should be. And you start to type it, and you're like, okay, this is actually going to take a significant amount of time because there's a processing power thing that is required. So, like, you'll put one in, and Teresa will take some time,
Mhm.
and you'll get it back. So, after maybe the second one of them, you realize it will probably take you maybe the next 48 hours of doing these equations every so often. But Teresa can like set them up so that you're doing it like once every 4 hours. You'll like come in and put a thing in.
All right. Yeah,
How-
she'll let the group
But-
know. And
You absolutely know that you are not in the Imperial star map. So where 576 ends, which is where the end of the Imperial star map is, because they're just like in undiscovered space, Lucira of all people knows that you are outside that.
yeah, once she like realizes that, she will turn back to the rest of the group and be like, "Yeah, we're real far out, you guys. Doing these calculations, we are not in Imperial space of any kind. So keep that in mind when we're trying to find somewhere to go, I guess. This is also going to take me a while, so probably won't have anything concrete for the next couple of days."
Do we lose access to Teresa since Teresa is using a bunch of processing power to
No,
do these
she's
calculations?
basically using an infinity byte to do all of this stuff, which is a concept that I'll make Nix explain if any of you want more information. It's a lot, but the way that
Hold up,
processing
nope.
works is that there is a thing that is using that processing. Teresa, to do ambient stuff like answer questions for you, can do that anyway. And after like the second one, you kind of get a ping on the console in front of you, Lucira, that's like, would you like to secure encrypted smart pad so that you don't have to be sitting at this console to do it?
Yes, thank you.
Uh,
So
uh,
on her little smart slab.
yeah, so that's now all the calculations are coming up, and your slot that would be for planetary stuff that's reserved is now filled with this. It's like
Okay.
the astronavigation of the
Perfect. I'll
ship.
put that in
which-
Put it in my tab.
The ship is
So-
unnamed on that app, by the way.
There's
It
what?
would
Sorry?
the ship would normally have a name on that app. Every other time you've interfaced with the ship this way, it would have a name. This one does not.
Unregistered, unlicensed. Those fiends.
How dare?
It's not necessarily a registration thing. It's that the ship doesn't consider itself to be named.
I have a question that about any chart that you've made. Where it says like +2 and +3 days on the star map, is that means that it's taking 3 days to jump between sectors there, or that's just 3
Yes.
days from the center? Okay.
No, it's that. So at the extreme outer edge, this is a map that all the players have access to for those people watching. At the extreme outer edge, where the galactic density is lower, it takes 10 days to travel from one sector to any other sector. That gets exponentially further the further out you get. So how far away you are from that is important.
Okay.
And that's at faster than light travel.
So with that, I think even I don't know exactly where we're at and stuff, but if we're outside of Imperial space, that was like we just jumped like a month or something at least distance away.
More.
No,
Or
you
more.
jumped like half a year.
Yeah, like good
It
6
takes
months.
about half a year to go from the extreme outer rings to the inner rings. A year is 400 days in
Right. Well,
the
yeah,
Imperial.
because that one ring's like 7 days between systems, so that's like.
Because there's 9 and the 10 days sections. That's 90 days. That's 3 months just in
It
the
just
outer
depends
bit.
on
So
yeah, it depends on
Yeah.
like if we're just outside Empire space or if we're like way outside Empire space.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
6 months minimum if we were on the edge of Imperial space. But I have a feeling we are not, based on the calculations I've been having to run.
I'm gonna look at as Lucira has just like finished their calculations for the next 4 hours. So fuck.
Yeah, you can
Yep.
say that.
Yeah, fuck's a good word. So I know you're not exactly a security guard. Kind of got that much in all the hubbub earlier. How long were you acting as one necessarily?
Well, in a technicality, I was a security guard. I was just working as a security guard for another reason. A couple months. I think that's right.
It's less.
How-
It was 3 weeks because you rolled so well to like just get through stuff.
Yeah.
And
A
Alejandro, yes,
month.
you were not a very good security guard.
To be fair, it's not my main occupation.
How
Ah.
long was this thing in impound exactly?
I
You were
don't think
told
I
6 months.
6 months. Okay. 6 months. I went on the ship and went to the bridge and kind of scoped it out a little bit as my getaway vehicle, but I did not see a giant squid. There was nothing in the records, as far as I know. I didn't look at them very thoroughly that indicated such a
Yeah.
thing.
There was no asterisk and be like, this ship has a giant squid on it. We don't really know what that's about.
I don't know. I have no fucking idea why it was even in there because this seems much too advanced and high class to have ended up in the Heart Impound lot.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the following anger isn't necessarily directed at you, but how in the fuck did no one find a giant squid that could sneeze us across half the goddamn galaxy in 6 months?
My guess, this is just a guess, gesticulating, is that probably Umoak has some way of disguising himself or making it so that people can't access that room. Most of the people who work at station security are not very bright. It would not be that hard to mind trick them into believing there was nothing there.
I think when Valis continues on to be like, it would be not that hard to mind trick. Nyx just looks at everyone and then looks back at that room and then back at Valis. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Not
know
very-
categorically that this thing could just choose to. It could both choose to make you not remember that you saw a giant squid, or it could choose to not let you go to that room.
Yeah, Nyx is still not certain what to say about all of this, like cannot put it into words, so she just says, yeah, not very hard at all to trick those dumb station security.
Conifer like turns to face Nyx and like if Nyx is like okay with it, will like no longer be grabbing their their sleeve, but will have moved to their hand and will be and will go. I think something that none of us have asked each other is, are we all okay?
No.
Friend
Nyx Lucira does laugh at that.
Yeah, kid just found a seat on the bridge and is doing a thing where they're like their hand is like this is like on their face. It's just like taking everything into stock.
Did really want it to be off the grid, but not like this.
You know, 3FL, Conifer, correct for now?
Conifer, yes.
Conifer,
Please.
I think no, but also at the same time we're all, alive in one way or another. So also, I had when the heart exploded, I got barely almost hit by a laser from one of those ships and took some had a little bit of an injury to my ribs from falling some distance. Weorak healed that, so physically I'm fine. Mentally though, I think we are all a little bit jumbled at the moment. I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but what the actual fuck
I
did we
mean,
just experience?
As Lucira finishes, the camera like fades a little bit and transitions to a very, very opulent office laced in platinum. The desk is like made of platinum. It has all these like diamonds encrusted on it, and behind it sits a very young, very attractive androgynous person wearing what Conifer knows, and probably Lucira, maybe most of you know to be the imperial headdress that the emperor wears. And there's a man standing in front of him, just in a very plain suit, who's saying, "So, of the civilians on the heart, 80%." And the emperor says, 80% made it off? And the man says, the man shakes his head. As we flip back to the heart. Not the heart. That's
Not the heart. The heart's gone.
The ship.
There's
The
just
ship.
bodies
The heart of
floating
the ship,
idly.
the bridge. Yeah, we get a
Disney
moment of
expands.
seeing like a child
So-
be like just dead in the
Like
heart.
whenever there's ship combat
Yeah.
in the expanse, and they just go through the wreckage.
The wreckage.
So, Kid, knowing from before that there was already a delay in like messaging like Linux from being on the heart, how much of a delay do they think it would be to message anybody?
Make a computers check.
Oh, fun.
Or ask Nix.
Nix would
Although I
at
think,
this
do
time.
you have a rank in computers?
I don't know.
Okay. Then yes, make a check.
Yeah, Nix at this point did actually like flinch away when Conifer grabbed her hand, but then like very
Actually,
decisively.
wait, while you're making that check, which side of Nix is Conifer standing on? Left or right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
That's the most important question.
yeah, I just assumed for dramatic tension that Conifer was on the left, and so Nix just like kind of like jumps a little when they grab her hand, stands there like frozen, and then pulls their hand away, walks around Conifer, and takes hands in that direction instead.
Conifer takes note of that and knows only to grab if they're
But you
touching.
continue to hold hands all the time.
Oh, that's.
Kid, you know that basically, in a really, really basic way, messages travel at about 1 sector per day, and quicker in Imperial space. So, if you were 40 sectors out, which would be an insane distance, you're like 40 days or so that message would take to get through. That's everybody's general base understanding of the way that messaging works.
Kid does that thing where like they're looking at their smarts lab and has that like blank face and like in anger wants to like throw it down, but then halfway through the motions like has my music on it and just like angrily lightly like pats it on their leg.
That's
Definitely clocks that.
I suspect that might be helpful. It's to give some proper introductions.
Good call. Well, Vice Captain, do you want to start?
Shit. My name is well, you know, I'm Valis Canto. Call me Valis, call me Canto. Up to you. When I put myself as vice captain, just so we're clear, that was more because I want the ship. Because like this was my plan to come and take this ship.
You're more than welcome to it.
I don't really consider myself in charge of any of you. Although we've been lumped together as crew. I'm just gonna lay down my abilities or my job functions. There's a lot detective, security, enforcer, pilot, one-time soldier, one-man infiltrator. I've done a lot of political work lately. I'm multi-talented, is how I build myself. I can also, well, give me enough credits, I'll put on a show for you. I can act a little bit. Sort of a side thing that I picked up, with all the stealth work. Full cards on the table.
Alejandro says, how many credits? Like, ballpark, how many credits? Because is it a one-man show? Is there singing? I'll pay extra if they're singing.
If there's singing,
Is this disrespectful?
it's going to be 10,000 credits.
He thinks about it. I don't really have the liquid assets to pay you 10,000 credits.
Maybe y'all can pool together.
That'll be what we spend credits on, not gear, not anything.
Yeah,
mean,
Credits on getting Alice to dance for us.
I can go next.
Burlesque show.
Alejandro steps forward. He goes, I'm a lot like Valis. I do a lot of different stuff. I was up until a few days ago a bandit. Well, we should have been called pirates. I don't know what the obsession with being called bandits was. It was really very strange. Also, I have been a soldier as well. I once operated as a undertaker. I've done funerals in 3 different species. I'm a Rethan, and his third hand waves. So
Yeah.
if you know anything about us, he kind of looks around at all of you.
Me and Alejandro here have only known each other for about 2 days, and when we met, it was at the end of a gun.
Yeah, not my gun, because I use swords.
Right. No, I had
also,
my gun on him.
I might have told some of you that my name is Jorgen.
Yes.
Mhm.
So that is not your name?
Well,
Well,
unlike some of you, names are not that important to me, but Alejandro I slightly prefer.
It's a better
because
name.
It was chosen for me by my parents. But Jorgen's not bad. I've had worse names. I got
alright.
called
Well,
Dean for a while. I didn't like that
oh
one.
god. I'm slipping a little bit of a southern bit with Valis, and I can't even do a proper accent. Lucira will
Texas.
just nod and say, "Thank you for your honesty." Now, I suppose is better than ever.
Oh, I'll also say I'm from the flotilla. Maybe you're familiar.
Uh,
Would I be familiar with that?
It is a weird role in which I'll let you make either Imperial or Outer Rings for it, because it is an anomaly within that space.
Okay. I'll do Imperial. I mean, it's the same either way for me, so.
Only, Conifer, you have heard of Rethans as a race, which is what Alejandro is. I will send you something.
Is that? Can you spell that somewhere?
Let's make me spell things.
This is what it's like.
Let me know what your results are for this, knowing about the flotilla.
13.
It's not
you-
letting me do it. What is happening?
You have. I'll wait for everybody else to roll and then find.
It's just a one. It's slash roll, right?
Slash roll space.
Okay. It's just not even letting me enter it into the chat.
You're doing the
Weird.
down one, right?
My Discord is doing the little shaky window. That's weird. It's fine. I'll roll a real die.
You can roll. Yeah, you can roll manually. So
Yeah.
13, 10,
24.
24. Both Nyx and Kid have heard of the flotilla. It's not a space station. It's a group of ships that, to some extent, have been bolted together to form a larger flotilla of ships. But a lot of them are just around this cobbled together flagship are individual little ships. Conifer, you have heard on top of that it tends to float just outside Imperial space, but that it's got a really like strong familial like theme and connection to it. Lucira, I think you probably had someone serve with you on one of your ships that was from the flotilla. People don't normally leave it. It is really unusual to leave because there's a familial responsibility that people feel to that flotilla. You serve your ship, they don't tend to get paid. They get paid in like the fact that they live on the ship and they're part of the whole collective of their crew. So people leaving is quite unusual. So yeah, that's what you know about the flotilla.
Okay.
I'm staring now at Lucira, expecting you to go next, as you pointed me out as
Yeah.
going first.
Yeah. All right. Oh God, I'm doing it again. Oh no, this is.
Everybody becomes Southern.
Yeah. Just by osmosis.
It's a kid.
My name is Lucira Shemdir. I grew up on. Where did I grow up? I don't remember where I grew up. In sector, I think 536, 526.
Yeah, somewhere real far out.
Somewhere in there. Been a civilian commanding officer on several ships over the years. Most recently, about 2 years ago, on a passenger ship. Been out kind of doing other work here in the Outer Ranks since.
Special skills.
Well, I'm navigator. Having been a commanding officer, I can do a pretty good job of avoiding violent conflict if it comes to that, if people have tried to board my ships in the past. So, yeah, very good at that. Can deal with bureaucracy too if we need it.
I'd like to hear from the friendly robot next.
Yes, my life has been very different than all of yours, and I find this quite interesting. I was a gardener droid for the Imperial Gardens, and my name was 3FLA2, but it wasn't my name, it was my designation, what I was. It's what I was, but I don't think that's what I am anymore. My name today is Conifer, and I like plants. And this is my friend. And they hold up Nyx's hand.
You two know each other a long time then?
For a couple hours.
All right.
Anything besides the plants?
I have taken some time in recent months to explore how the physiology of other living creatures work. I know how to stitch people up in the event that they are sick, if they are in need of assistance. I know how to grow food, but that is sort of the plant-based thing. I think that the idea of life is fascinating, and
By the Admiral, I think we've found ourselves a doctor.
Yes, I can do that. I've done that before. Mainly with cows.
Space cows.
As much
Space
as I
cows.
hate to say it, I think I am very much like a cow. So I imagine you could fix me up.
You're more like a cow than I am.
That is
That is
true.
a fact.
We all are.
I glance between Nyx and Kid.
I'm Kid. I grew up on Sector 88. Was formerly part of a PMC. I say formerly because I don't think I have enough PTO to cover this fucking trip. I was in charge of recon when it mattered, and I'm a crack shot when it matters.
When you say PTO, Lucira kind of perks up a bit and just thinks herself, "Oh, another convert possibly." Because she's doing like equations in her smart stuff, but she kind of puts a little notepad up and kind of goes, talk to Kidren about
Joining the
anything."
union.
What's PMC?
Private military company.
You see both Alejandri and Valis probably nodding.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, they both like were halfway towards answering before Kid did.
I guess you're up next, Flaley.
Yeah, everybody's just looking at Nyx. 5
And Nyx-
people just turning attention to Nyx.
Nyx is just staring for the longest time. Like Nyx has been looking at Alejandra a lot, and then after Conifer's introduction at them, and then they just slowly look back around to realize that they are the center of attention. Oh, Solan'iks'ada, that's I'm an engineer. You should call me Nyx. Solan'iks'ada's really long. Since we're doing home systems, it's been a really long time, but I was 134. You know that little bit of Imperial space that starts to become that Free Space Coalition? That's where my bubble was. I grew up there. Everything's been pretty all right for the last few years, except for the fact that, and then she just like slowly stares to Alejandri and says, just a few days before I landed on the Heart, my private salvaging company and I got attacked by bandits. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you, Alejandri? And as she gets like more irritated, her kind of like her twitchy posture just settles down and she's just glaring.
As you get more irritated, we get like a zoom, and the zoom like is on like a little twitch that Nyx has, and then it like spikes through Nyx's skin, and we see the swarm of nanites feeling the need to protect Nyx in this moment, just like clamp down and stop your whole body moving so that you can't like anxiety shake, and that's how they think they're protecting you. There's just like nanites siphoning into your nervous system and just shutting it down. So you can't move from like the neck down as the nanites are like, we don't want you to be panicking. Alejandro goes, definitely, look, I was a bandit. We attacked a lot of stuff. If you're talking about that one where there was a salvage a couple of days ago, I was not a part of that because I don't use guns, and everybody that got sent out did use guns.
Kid kind of raises a hand. Were you part of a shipjacking?
I think the question that you are all trying to ask me is if I am to do with the Redline Bandits, which I am, but not anymore.
What does that mean?
I change employers a lot, and I was given an opportunity by the vice captain here to no longer be serving the slightly crazed bandit queen. Again, chooses to call us bandits, them bandits. Like, that's strange, right? Anyway, I've changed employer. I'm a free man now, and I brought 2 of you to this ship, trying to pay forward the goodness of Valis. Also, I did pay Valis for my freedom.
I do appreciate that. Was your former employer the pink person?
Yeah, Bujan.
That lady who was trying to kill us.
She wasn't trying to kill you because you'd be
Great.
dead.
Or I was trying to kill her.
She pointedly
Why?
didn't try and kill you.
Because they sent those bandits after us, and then they were like, "Oh, we don't want to fight, but we're still going to keep doing this shit."
And then Nyx did that cool thing, and they like got turned into mist. I've never seen that happen before. I've seen a lot of things.
That was impressive. You misted those bandits.
How
we should say that you nixed them. Let's call that nixing someone.
How does Nyx look?
Lucira just puts up face palms.
Can I do an understanding check of how Nyx looks at the current topic of pasting
Misting people?
Yeah,
I would
misting
like
people.
that understanding check as well.
Conifer, you just get it.
Okay.
You have a high enough understanding. Actually, I wanted to ask the experts, what are your reliable skills?
Leadership.
Understanding.
Okay, yes, then definitely, Conifer, you get it because you can just choose to take that if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lucira, I think you get it. You've seen a lot of people in this kind of situation. Like, killing someone and then having to deal with it. Like you've done this a lot, and this is someone that is not a fan of what has happened.
Conifer.
Kid, what did you roll?
I hadn't rolled yet.
So you were all understanding because we'll work out who knows what, and then Alejandro and I think Valis probably both don't care. It was
Yeah.
like a cool thing.
Good roll. I'm pretty good at understanding.
Alejandro did roll and did not do well. Yeah, with a 15, you can tell that they're uncomfortable. They can't move.
Nyx is still very, very still, in like a very unnatural way, and clears her throat and says, "Well, the last time I saw those people, they tried to kill Chips." And as she says that, she like looks down to check her pad because she remembered now that she had sent that message, and he wasn't that far away at the time. Maybe he'd gotten it. Maybe he'd sent something back before they went into the ether.
You don't have a message.
Yeah, as she sees that, she just like, and of course, as she's done this, like it's been her smart slump. She couldn't use her whole body to do it, so it was just her eyeballs, and she's just like looking for that notification thing. And she
You're
sees
also
nothing.
fighting the nanites because when you feel a disappointment and not getting it, they're like, okay, well, we don't want you looking there either.
Now that we're all introduced on a different tact, I can't spend too much time not making money. So I will go. I'm going to have to explain to Werewreck that I'm going to have to make some money in between here and Dallas Prime, assuming we get there.
I think now that you've had some distance from the tension of that conversation, you definitely remember that he said that time's not that big a deal as long as your plan eventually is to go to Dallas Prime. Like, he probably doesn't care what you do on the way, but we'll know if your plan is to never take him. Maybe. But he says that he will.
I think Dallas is still unsure of like what that means exactly. Like how
circumnavigatory
can we
can we like take this trip?
Just like what weird ass route can we take that he's not going to get annoyed by?
40 years from now, Valis
around the world in 80 days, but 80 years
takes them to.
Yeah, we're all like old decrepit people, and it's like, all right, I guess it's finally time to go to Dallas Prime.
We cleared all the side missions before we left the main
Did one of you critical an understanding check during that scene? I'm trying to remember. No, it's spiritual.
I don't think so.
It was spirituals.
No,
I crit earlier.
I don't think I rolled during that.
I don't know if I did either.
I should have made you make a
I think I rolled on Nyx. I didn't roll on the Umoak.
Everybody's using their understandings on Nyx.
Nyx is a deeply curious individual. I think Alejandro says, I know that the giant squid thing. Do you have squid on your planets?
Yes.
I don't live on the planet. I didn't live on the planet, but I am very familiar with squid, and I am particularly favored to calamari.
That was a squid, right?
I suspect
we can call a squid a squid. That was a squid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a squid.
Yeah, my home planet had squids.
The squid said we have free reign of the ship. Hey, ship, do we have rooms? You hear Teresa's voice come in and go, yes, there are private rooms.
That's good.
They are upstairs. Take the elevator to the top.
Teresa. Not all had private rooms.
Teresa.
Yes.
Are all the ships similarly spaced?
Rooms.
All the rooms?
Rooms.
There are 10 private rooms that are all the same floor dimensions but different heights due to the curvature of the outside of the ship. And then there are 2 large barrack style rooms.
And those can hold how many?
The ship could, if you had 2 people in each private room, sleep 60. It would be busy elsewhere.
Could the ship sustain that kind of population for long, or would we need to have frequent
Are you asking in terms of does the life support it, or is the current food system?
the more like the food system. Obviously, the life supports it if you've given that much space.
The current food situation would not support 60 people, but unless you are all like the captain, I suspect that won't be a problem.
Teresa, how much you know about where? Oh, no names. Warak?
Whack.
Where?
I do not know a lot beyond my general programming. I was created. The ship was created around this orb.
I think I asked this already, but Teresa, do you know who manufactured this ship?
No.
Hey,
While they're
Teresa.
all asking these questions, I'm just taking very quick, detailed notes quietly on my smart slab about
He
everything.
is like shouldering a giant duffel bag and is just going to go find a room because while he doesn't mind getting to know all of you, he's been carrying this quite large bag for a long time.
Hey, Teresa.
Yes.
What happened to the last crew?
They were killed during an attack upon the ship that damaged the life support system.
Why was it in the impound lot?
I do not recall. There's a blank in my memory between the damaging of the life support systems and the generator trying to go past that. And then a couple of times people came onto the ship in the impound lot and I turned on, but they investigated and left.
So you said the other crew was around. Did they leave any documentation, or I guess? And she looks at you, Lucira, just like notes. Do we have anything that they said?
I can attempt to access the log of the previous vice captain. And she will do that and will present like a screen that has this white sparse looking log. It doesn't seem like the captain filled it in a lot. But they did talk about being in non-imperial space, and they were going after a ship for some reason. Said it basically says that they're tracking a ship, and then the last log entry is that they have found the ship and they're going to engage it. But like,
I guess they
this
lost.
is a captain that would once a month put like a small log in. They might have left physical documents somewhere. Although it might have been picked clean before it got to the impound lot.
All right. Lucira, I don't know if you would mind joining me. I'm gonna go look for the kitchens.
Yes, let's check on our food stores, see what the status is of those flash frozen meals.
If anybody tries to follow the two of us, I'm gonna wave them off.
No, Kid was going to go try to find a room.
Conifer will turn to Nyx. Where would you like to go?
I want to know the layout of the ship for my own self, and then the engineering, and then the barracks, and then like as soon as like it's kind of like filtered out and it's much more quiet, she clears her throat and she goes, and I'm sorry about the root system.
There's not been too much time to think about it. It happens. Death is the natural progression of life. And I didn't get the chance to see if that tree was ready to die, so there's nothing else I can say about it. Would you like company when you go and explore the ship?
Nick's voicelessly nodding.
Well, and then after
right.
that, like Nick's kind of like slowly checks to see if the nanites have let her move.
Yeah,
15 seconds.
as you're like calming down, the nanites have like backed off and are like, excellent, our protection work is done. Let's just go back to existing in your system. So Valis and Lucira, well, Alejandro leaves first to go find a room. Valis and Lucira head down. Teresa will tell you that it's the second lowest stop in the elevator, so floor 2. And you head off. Kid's going to find a private room, and the other two are exploring the entire ship.
We're gonna do our best.
Okay, so if rooms are up at the top and the kitchen is on, what level did you just say?
2.
2. What level is the bridge, like command center on?
The
Just so I
bridge.
can I just want to get a list so I can get like a relation
5.
of things. 5?
Yep.
Okay.
This elevator opens on both sides, so it's not quite so simple that there's just 5 floors. There's like
Right.
4A and 4B, but it is roughly 5.
Okay.
And the topmost private room is 7.
Well,
So
I mean,
1 through
it's the
7.
same floor, just opposite sides.
That one, it is, but not all of them are that.
Some of them are like half floors away.
Yeah, there's like a couple that are
Okay.
awkwardly placed because of the ship layout.
Got engines and life support systems and stuff.
It fit in the shell that they had.
Yeah.
Nix, you are leading the exploration. You can pick from the bridge. There are like floor exits in here where there are stairs going downwards. If you want to go there first, otherwise you can go top left, top right, or into the sphere to look around.
So top left and top right, they went like that was barracks area, and
Yeah, top right is the private rooms.
okay.
As you're kind of looking at you probably travel up and down in the elevator a couple of times to like get an idea of where the doors open.
All right. Nyx actually knows that once she sees engineering, she won't be able to walk away. So she chooses the place that's like farthest away from engineering to examine first.
So the sphere is where the engines are, so you go to the top left. But we're going to start with let's start with Kid going to find a room, because I like the idea of a little scene of Kid setting up the room. You get up to this. You go to the top because that's what Teresa said. You do notice the elevator calls level 6 and 7 private rooms, but as you go in, this is a large space. There's a kind of clear walkway, so you can see the walkway below, and each of these rooms is actually 2 stories. So on either side there are 2 rooms. There's a room on either side, and they are a double story, like duplex style room. They're very, very fancy for a ship.
Mm-hmm.
They are like beyond what you've ever seen in any ship. Even you, who come from quite an affluent background and has probably traveled on quite nice ships, not many of them have duplex private rooms. You kind of see maybe 3 or 4 down on the left. 4 down on the left. Alejandro has like put a little thing outside the sheath of his sword to like dictate that that's his room. But then any of the others are open to you.
Kid would take the immediate one on their left as soon as they enter in.
First one on the left. It is the shortest of the rooms because of the curve. You go in from the top level. The top level is like a bedroom, almost like a loft, and then you can see down. There's a on this one there's a spiral staircase downwards, but some of them just have ladders. Downwards, you kind of see like a bathroom area, an area with some shelves, and like a small living area that you could put stuff in. There's a couple of chairs that look like they are maybe not the most comfortable, like metallic chairs. But the room is otherwise very nice. It does have just a plain metal bed. It doesn't have anything fancy in it.
Kid will walk over to the bed and just like almost seemingly with more weight than what is actually like their body, just sag and sit down. Slings off sniper rifle and kind of sets it off to the side. Takes off the shotgun off the back, and kind of has like a brief moment of, oh yeah, that's literally all I have right now. Everything else got blown up.
As you're kind of having this moment of, I lost so much stuff, you kind of tilt your head up, and in the corners of this upstairs area, you see what most people might think of like as vents, but you can see slightly further into them, and they look like they're roof-mounted speakers. So it does look like this room is set up with a entire speaker setup that you could use for music if you really wanted to.
Kid kind of stares at that for a moment, and kind of while still looking up. Hey, Teresa, can you still hear me?
Yes, I have essentially ears in every room, unless you request privacy, in which case then I will not.
How good is the sound dampening in these rooms?
It will not be pleasant for your immediate neighbor if you are playing sound loudly, but even the person across the hall will not really be able to hear you.
Gotcha. Thanks. So, Kid will get up and try to see if they can get the sound system to work.
There's a little shelf above the bed where it has like an input port for a slab, but it also has like the equivalent of like a very old like record player. So like a 4 or 5 generation old high fidelity sound system that doesn't really get used anymore, but you can just plug a smart slab into it.
Okay. Kid plugs their smart slab into it, and quickly going through their slab, they find what they know to be one of the loudest, most just harsh songs on their slab, and selects that, and opts to make it over, like, not to the max volume, but uncomfortably loud.
Sure. Yeah, the speaker system is very good. It's and as the speaker system starts, you kind of feel like a rushing of air a little bit around the room. And the sound dampening that they're using is like airflow to stop like sound going out as easily on top of whatever there would naturally be.
And Kid finds a chair and like sits down and waits for the song to keep playing for about 15-ish seconds. And
Just on a loop.
when the song is at its loudest, Kid just takes in a breath and screams as loud as they can. So hard to where veins are showing. They purposely don't care if they give themselves a headache. They're just letting everything out in a single scream. And then when they finish and kind of sit back up and take a breath, they turn the music down. And
as the music turns down, you hear Teresa's voice say, did you want me to activate privacy mode?
no, that's fine. You can hear that.
All right, the ship goes silent again.
And then the last thing they'll do is kind of looking at their slab. They'll open it and begin to type out a message. Basically saying, hey, don't know when any of you are exactly going to get this, considering how far out I think I am. But just to let you know, I am alive. Like just sending out like a kind of a, probably to like Abram, Stoyer, Reed, all the main people of the Red Riders. And as they get almost completely through with the message, they stop and kind of just look at it for a few moments before they delete the entire message and just close their smart slab.
We would have gone to Nix and Conifer next, but Kristen has stepped away. So we go to Valis and Lucira as the elevator doors open to a very this is in like the fin that comes down part where it like wraps around the sphere. So it's a very oddly shaped room because it's got a curved back wall. The level that you open up onto is freezing cold. Like you could not really be in this area for much longer than a couple of minutes grabbing things. But this is the storage room for the food. And then there's a staircase upstairs with a door hatch that like slides back and forth.
Well, guess we found the where we call this food has been stored. How full does this room look like just on an initial like pass over of all those
It's
storage spaces?
like about 40% full, but you probably have dealt with some requisition stuff in your time,
Mhm.
particularly aboard the Tempesta. The So the shelf life for food at this temperature is like designed to be like a decade. They're like
Okay.
very, very long life rations because they're designed to go out into space, basically. So 40% of this entire capacity might be enough for you all to eat for like 30 to 40, maybe 50 days if you're really scarce with it.
Okay. And yeah, I feel like and then she would go and check like if they still stamp expiration dates on food.
They do.
She'd go check that and make sure it's within
Um,
boundaries and be like,
yeah, there's a couple that you can see because it's like designed to be immediately readable. There's a couple that you can see that are edging towards it. Maybe one box that's like way in the back that is like
"Hmm,
slightly over expiration, which you know is just like absolutely health and safety wise, you cannot eat that. Like,
yeah.
like eating that would be such a outrageous thing to Lucira to be like, oh, you can't break that expiration date. But there's a lot of
Hard to
mixture of
pass
stuff as
through."
well. It's generally pre-cooked, but even in this, there's some like snap dried, vacuumed like meat of some kind, like aged meat that should be able to be cooked still.
Reconstituted.
No vegetables
No
of any kind.
vegetables. What about fruit?
Nothing that would organically grow from a plant, except for things that have been processed, like flowers.
Right. While Lucira is doing like the, probably the
Yeah,
responsible thing.
I'm taking inventory. Like
Yeah.
I've just
The
gone
thing
into
that
like
an
my
actual
EXO like
leader does.
Yeah.
EXO mode of just like logging everything in and sending it, like making a file and linking it to everyone's like into the ship into everyone's smart slabs.
I kind of picked up a random box and I'm just kind of idly like flipping it in my hands as I'm walking next to Lucira. And I wait a half a tick before I start and I say, so it feels like to me that we are two adults who have been saddled with a bunch of children.
I hate to say that's true, but I can't say it's not. Based on your immediate knowledge of when you took the vice captaincy, you've clearly spent many years on ships and within leadership positions on those ships. I have also done that. However, I, as your newfound rank affords you, I am more than willing to be second in command if you wish for that to happen.
Honestly, I'm happy to swap places. Like I said, really the only reason why I put myself in that position initially was because I thought we were going to jump a little bit of ways. I would be able to drop you guys off, and then I could take the ship and like use it for my own purposes. Stuck with this squid thing and stuck in the middle of nowhere, I'd be more than happy to swap spots. But if you'd rather be the second, I'm okay with that. Uh, as far as like my leadership skills, um, I haven't been tested in that role very much. I've had some leadership positions, but I was not the wing commander when I was in the military. I was a pilot, damn good one, but I haven't had to lead a ton of people. And even in my current line of work, I mostly work alone or briefly with groups. So I definitely get the sense that you're better with the. I'm good at talking fast, but not necessarily convincing people to stick around and on a recurring basis listen to my orders.
Well, can't all be that kind of person, but seems like you're a pretty good pilot. So, how about this? How about well, let me explain. As a former XO of several ships in the last, she does math in her head, 15 years about, I've learned how to speak with people, and often even if the captain is a total dickhead, if his XO, if their XO does a good job, that's what matters more than the captain being good at speaking with people. So if you would like to build some leadership here, I think that would hurt. Don't shake your head at me, Jack.
Sorry, I was like, oh my god, Lucira's organizing Valis into being a leader. That's very funny. Sorry.
I'm
Why don't we,
happy.
for now, you try it out for now.
All right.
I'll support you, and we'll see how it goes. If later things aren't going the way you want, I will happily take over as vice captain.
All right. I'm on point then, and you're backing me up.
Yes.
I just wanted to get that a little bit squared, that we were clear on where everything was standing. Kind of flips this box again a couple times. It says, I'm also going to tell you again because I think you have a good head on your shoulders. Kid could get there. The other two they seem like wonderful people, but not used to high stress situations. In a lot of debt. Okay, a lot.
I'm in debt.
I have about 700,000 credits of debt.
Jeez.
I have to make a monthly minimum payment of 5,000 credits. And I don't want you thinking that I'm like some, I don't know, gambler or like, that I racked up all this money. I got it through a friend. I took on their debt, kind of a had to situation. They were never going to be able to pay it off on their own. So basically,
can I make an understanding check on that?
I can't go too long without working because like they'll give me some slack, maybe. But if I went like 3 months without paying, I would have a bounty out on my head probably.
I'm gonna do with wisdom instead of charisma, as this would be more of a.
Are you trying to understand the nature of debts to the wrong kind of people, or a Valis kind of thing?
Of Valis and whether or not he's telling the truth about it being from a friend or like versus his own.
Okay, yeah, you can make an understand thing. I'm not going to let Andrew decide what you learn, though. I will tell you what you learn. Valis, you would, by the way, know that almost
it's a natural one.
something rings false to you about what Valis is telling you. You can't really work out what, but there's just something that just doesn't seem right to Lucira. Valis, you would know that despite the fact that you're a long way out, provided that you can send a transaction to a bank, it will be dated in such a way that they will not be like, well,
right,
you have shorted us.
I just need the money to send.
Yeah, you need the money, but
the timestamp will get through, no
not
problem.
quite as bad a thing.
We got timestamp for that reason.
Which is part of the reason why I assume that like a 3 months grace period, they'll like wait to see, oh, maybe they're in a weird spot and like it just hasn't gotten here yet.
Yep.
Love that natural one for me. All right.
I really like the description that Dice Witch gave that.
I didn't even read it.
Like most of them are the dice scattered
Like,
across the table, but that one in particular was very fancy.
For a natural one, that seems
wow.
that's just right. That's just right for natural one.
Mm-hmm.
You get this beautiful description, and I learned nothing. Well, her eyes do widen at the mention of 700,000 credits because that is a lot of money. She goes.
I will say that because you have +3 in bureaucrat.
I have 2 ranks in bureaucrat.
Okay, then you can roll bureaucracy.
Okay.
If you'd had 3, I would have given it to you for free.
Do intelligence. 22.
You would know that kind of debt is only you think that Valis is being untruthful about something. It could be a gambling debt. It would be unusual even for gambling debts to be allowed to get that high unless you were quite rich, and Valis does not strike you as It is far more likely that that is either a business-related debt or a home or ship-related debt. Like if you have bought a giant ship or a home and they've foreclosed on it or something like that. Those kind of debts are that range. It would be incredible for someone to allow this schmucky-looking Valis in front of you to borrow 700,000 credits to accrue gambling debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
as you're thinking on that, we will skip out a little bit and come back to you. Conifer and Nyx, having chosen to investigate furthest away from the engines, you have made the choice to take you to the thing that will be obsessed about by the other character as you open the elevator to this enormous, essentially an interior greenhouse. You can see in the distance actual trees. This is at the very top of the front of the ship, so you actually have the view out the front of the ship from it. There's actual trees. You can see a lot of planter beds and stuff, which all have different like shieldings for different atmospheric levels. And as you kind of see that in the distance, in your immediate area, you see a lot of like chemical chemistry, like lab stuff, some xenophysiology lab stuff. There's a storage room where obviously all of that stuff is kept. But immediately upon opening it, you are drawn to the fact that there is essentially a greenhouse here that is as nice as the best greenhouse on the Imperial homeworld.
Conifer will take a moment to look between Nyx and the greenhouse. And we'll make a split-second decision that they need to get to the greenhouse, and if Nyx wants to follow, then that is their prerogative, and they're not going to force Nyx into investigating something that does not interest her. So are any of the first things first, are any of like what the plants in this greenhouse like the same as any of my specials? Like, is there a way that like they have of my special plants, or is that very?
So as you walk through, none of them are those deeply rare plants, nor is one a replica of the giant tree, because that would be also very strange to be here. You see the left side is largely dedicated to growing fresh food. And while all of the seeds and stuff kind of seem like they're dormant right now, you do kind of get the impression that they will like come back now that the ship is back on. To the right, you see what is essentially a display case of the more unusual things. There's a Venus flytrap that has 3 heads, kind of in a large area. If you look at it, it's got like this watery substance inside it. There's a couple of very like bright red flowering pots that look to be almost at first like a very thin layer of fur, but it's actually like a bright red flaming moss. And then further back there are actual trees that you can see the around them there are ventilators that are like using them to fuel some of the life support.
Are there any? That's really cool. Oh wow, no, that's fun. Are there any like open planter boxes so that I can?
Yeah, there's heaps. There's like a lot of space in here that hasn't been used, because you can also tell that some of the more fancy plants have not survived being either they weren't there to begin with, or they are now just nutrients in the soil for whatever comes next.
Okay. So I will head over to one of the empty planter box. I will take out my little play vine and like one of the plants that I've been using to keep it alive, and I'll be like, you have a little box now, so you can hang out and do what you need to do. And then Conifer checks over their shoulder to see if Nyx has followed them.
Nyx has followed, and Nyx's eyes like they seem to have settled down. They enjoy trees and plants, especially because this is more than they're used to. But they are looking at like the sprinkler systems and the little traces of mechanical stuff that is keeping all this running.
You do notice that, for lack of a better term, this is a Star Trek style ship as opposed to Star Wars or like Serenity or something, where a lot of the mechanical and electrical side is behind like a veneer that makes it all look nicer. However, as you're wandering through, there's far less bulk to these like edges. This ship makes the absolute most use of the room that it has. Like the layer between this and the outer hull is maybe, as opposed to 4 or 5 feet that you would normally get in a proper ship, is maybe half a foot. So it's getting so much extra space from how well it's engineered, which is deeply fascinating to Nix, who has like never learned about building ships that use their space quite like this.
Conifer will also take a moment to like specifically like direct Nix's attention to this tree system that is also feeding back into the life support system. It's really quite incredible how life and not life and sentience and not sentience are working together to create this system in which we can all exist together. And so often we separate these ideas and we don't need to. So in that way, you and I are very similar and also so very different.
Nyx blinks several times, and you can see like the faint, like nictitating membrane go down over their orange eyes, making them a little fuzzier, and then says, "Probably more similar than different. You're not exactly a robot. You're full AI, aren't you?"
Yes, but I'm not alive. I do not have life.
You're still more alive than some people I've run into.
So
I guess
That's
it's...
What do you mean by that?
So you ever meet somebody and there's just like nothing there. They're kind of dull, boring. They don't shit. No.
No, everything is fascinating if you let it be.
So how much does Nyx know about AI reaching this stage, this like wandering stage of their non-lives?
make a theoretical science roll.
Okay.
Also, you know innately that while it is very nice that the trees are feeding the life support system, the amount of work that those trees are doing is infinitesimally small. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
less than 1%. Nyx is like, a lot of this is all artificial and it's really just for the look of it.
Yeah, like oxygen or water splitters for the oxygen. She knows nothing.
What did you roll?
A 9 with my bonus.
Uh,
6.
Yeah,
Check each other.
it is quite common knowledge that there is a reason that AIs aren't super dangerous, but you aren't sure what that reason is. But I think when you're talking to Conifer, you can start to work out the reason is that AIs are quite enamored with understanding, which most people aren't. Like, the reason that ambitious people work is because they don't care about understanding stuff sometimes. So
Yeah, so I guess in response to that, like everything is fascinating. Nyx has had like this faint smile as they just like enjoy the space and Conifer's instant friendship. And she grimaces. Her left hand, the one that she pulled away from Conifer, just kind of presses against her thigh and she rubs slightly. Yeah, but sometimes interesting things. And then she takes a second look at Conifer and doesn't say another word. She's like, "No, you're right. Everything is fascinating."
To be clear, fascinating is not necessarily a judgment call. Fascinating and good do not equal each other. Fascinating and bad do not equal each other. if I may be so bold, are you okay, really? Outside of being shot into space?
Um.
Hello. I'm gonna need you to make a willpower save. Thanks,
Yeah,
Nick.
that one's a good one for her to make a.
Man.
Ha.
Brute force therapy.
Less loud than metal therapy.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Nick's mutters like, I thought I left Chip behind.
This group
It-
needs to just have a spin-off that's a paranoia episode. You feel yourself become overwhelmed with like panic at the question of someone just like full saying to you, "Hey, are you okay?" And you're like, "But they can tell that I'm not. So why are they asking this?" You're having this huge like anxiety spiral about this. But most importantly, the nanites don't take that as a thing to protect you from and don't shut you down. But you manage to get everything under control and are not completely overwhelmed.
No, but I do not have. And then she just like stops. She goes, look, maybe one day when we're not traveling through, the far, far, far stretches of the galaxy, I'll work that out. Probably not if history has any, ability to predict for the future. Probably not. But it's quite nice of you to ask. You're gonna make a pretty good friend, Conifer.
Should I check in every so often, or it would be better for me to let you deal with that internally?
Oh. I think that this one is going to be a deception roll because Nyx's eyes are like blinking very rapidly. And she is 100% certain that she should say yes to this question. She needs check-ins. But very firmly she's like, no, I am totally fine. I've been working through this for a while. I am absolutely okay.
I love nothing more than this attempt that you're making. I mean, Conifer, I'm going to let you roll because you're so good at understanding. I will, otherwise not worry about it. But
Bless.
It's like insight to the deception check.
well, I mean, Conifer's reliable thing is understanding. So
Yeah.
if you had not rolled a 20, I think Conifer would have just known you were lying.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what level of the how obvious the lying was. I did not.
Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you choose to make rolls for things. You accidentally crit when you don't really want to have that as an outcome.
Oh no,
Conifer could roll.
Fine.
Conifer could roll well enough that they still sense that there's something off about it. If Conifer gets a natural 1, this is great. Great tension.
Oh yeah, that's real good.
Yeah, so even though you're slightly deceived by the fact that Nixa said no, you're like that instinct that you haven't had before. That like instinctive, oh, I understand something, but I can't. It's not through a computation. It's through an instinctual thing that like I have progressed to start having. That instinct is like, but things. Not everything would want to be checked in on, but maybe everything should be. Every plant needs care sometimes, even though the plant might think it's resilient. So, despite the fact that you kind of believe Nyx when they say no, your brain's like,
So I think that the mental math that Conifer goes through is when you're growing like an apple tree or a fruitful plant, in order to maximize the amount of yield and also to keep the tree the most healthy, you do have to trim it back at very strategic points. But plants don't naturally want to be trimmed back. So that is the analogy that Conifer has just made. in their head, and I think they truly do believe that that Nyx thinks that they don't need to be checked in on. Not that they were lying. To try to honor that nat 20. Conifer nods slowly at Nyx. Not contradicting them, and goes, well, I could stay here for a while, but there's more to the ship to explore. I will be back here. I think we might need to grow some fresh food. I don't know if the others have had much luck in the kitchen. Where are we going to next?
As Nyx is making that decision, we're going to cut to break.
Yeah, makes sense.
We're going to do a 10-minute break, 15 minutes. 10. Yeah. Raise your hand for 10. 10 minutes. Good job. And we'll be back at 1:15 for the second half of Space Oddity, episode 2. Welcome back to the second half of this episode of The Infinite. We rejoin the crew, now back with Lucira and Valis in a room that is quickly becoming uncomfortably cold. You spent around the maximum amount of time you ever would want to spend in a deep freeze cooler that is even colder than most professional restaurants in one day. Valis, the box that you were tossing up and down to kind of seem nonchalant and cool has slightly hurt your hands.
I sat down
you head upstairs through the hatch as it slides open. Another air curtain that's keeping the temperature different. As you step through it, both of your hair kind of blowing a bit as the air curtain hits you, and you find yourself in a quite small.
I hate those things. As I fix my hair.
You're in a quite small but well-equipped kitchen. It's very much it reminds you of a flotilla kitchen, where it's got a lot of verticality to it because it's in a small space.
Well, how good of a cook are you?
What role would that be? Can I just say I'm good or bad?
Are you good at cooking?
I think.
Yeah, I will let you pick in particular, because I think of all the characters with backgrounds, you having cooked a lot makes the most sense.
I think Valis is pretty good at cooking, but a lot of people don't like his cooking because he eats it very spicy.
Yeah, flotilla people are weird like that. They're kind of a slightly more robust people in general. But yeah, I will give you. You can add somewhere that you have a cooking skill at rank 2.
I love that. Chef, level 2.
Yeah, you have I think reasons to have cooked a lot more than anyone else in the past. Also, you have the age advantage on a lot of them.
True, I am old.
How old is Lucira and how old is Valis? This is a thing that I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, that's true. Good question. Let me open up my backstory to remind myself of
your
how
backstory
old
has a lot of time periods in it.
Yes,
which
that's why I need to check it. Continuity.
I had to change my age out of a request from the TM.
Andrew chose the age that I'm about to be, and I did not care for that.
28.
I think Valis is 30.
Yeah, I think we had said 30, probably almost 31.
I never actually put how long she worked on the Eunomia.
The second
I just said of when she left it, so...
I think when we did your session 0, it was a shorter period, so 3 years.
Yeah, I think we had decided based on when she started that bit on the Tempesta, and then started that training, and then went after that to the Eunomia, so that would be... So she's approaching 30, I'd say, or it's 30, maybe turning 31 or 32 soon.
Yeah, you're almost identical in age.
Yeah, very similar.
Which is why my comment in the chat earlier about Lisa going, "Oh, you sweet, younger but probably not actually summer child." About
I think Lucira also
Valis
looks
is great.
A little bit younger, and Valis looks a little bit older. Like there's just the weirdness of Valis makes him look a little bit older. But this kitchen's quite nice. A lot of the cooking stuff that you would have to do is not overly taxing. It's like sous vide this bag, and then that is the food done.
Okay. I can't.
So
I, as Andrew, cannot whistle,
Mm.
but Valis gives a long, shrill whistle in admiration of the kitchen.
yeah, it's maybe where you lived with Amalia is nicer. That's her name, right? Amalia. Yeah. When Amalia had a nicer kitchen, but this is like one of the nicer ship ones that you've been on.
Well, I think that answers my question. I think we'll
Apart,
be fine.
apart from the squid, I did pick a very nice ship.
You are not incorrect in that assessment. Is there space? Like, is this just to make the food, or is there also like a dining table, like where we can also like sit and eat in here?
There is a place where you can slot in food, like a dumbwaiter essentially, that elevates it up to the next level. And that level, there are stairs up. And as you go up, it's like quite a big mess hall.
Okay.
It would be, if it was the six of you alone in here, it would be like one of those awkward 6 people around a very, very, very large table, like not speaking to each other, like the stereotypical rich family where they don't talk to each other. But it could maybe conveniently fit like 30 people.
Kind of meant to be half crew could be eating here at
Yeah.
any given time. Other half would be on duty. Okay.
Yep. There is also an elevator access to this room. The kitchen does not have its own elevator access.
All right.
I will, at the end of this session, give you this map that I drew.
Great.
Are you going to cook something now?
I am feeling mighty peckish, so yes.
It's been nearly 2 hours since you ate that bagel.
Yeah. I did a lot of cardio.
All right. What I'll do is, because are you going to use some of the fresh meat? Are you going to try for this first meal?
Yeah, I
This
will
is my
try to
question.
make a good meal, and I will try to, knowing my predilection, make it normal people food.
There's a lot of the spice that the flotilla use are like herbaceous spices, like peppercorns and stuff, which you don't have access to anyway, so it's harder to do that. But Conifer can maybe help you.
Do.
But I'll get you to make me a cooking roll.
I have set this set to in/whiz. I don't know if that's what you wanted.
Yeah, unless you're doing specifically sushi. Yes, and you can pick whichever one you like. I like dexterity for sushi making.
That seems appropriate.
That does make sense. I'll make a wisdom.
I
So-
believe this has become a cooking RPG.
This is actually, funnily enough, one of my best skills now.
Yeah, I thought giving you a random tool at rank 2 would be pretty good for you.
Hold on. Wrong /
Oh god.
Yeah. It's amazing. I turned this frozen, dehydrated food into magic.
So you do like, because this is the way that food is on the flotilla. You get a lot of your food in these ration packs. So you sous vide all of the meat, and you do like 6 smallish like steaks, but then you also do like pork belly, and you're like grilling it, and you get the crackling going in that, and you have this like extra. You do find like in one of the older boxes like a thing of coleslaw that can go with it, which is like one of the few vegetables. There's like a mashed potato that's pre-made that you generally don't like, but you're like, well, I'll use this. The kitchen actually helps you a lot. Like the layout of the kitchen makes doing all of these things easier. It has inbuilt like well-regulated sous videing and stuff, and the grills are really perfectly designed temperature-wise. Normally, I would give you disadvantage for being in a new kitchen, but because this kitchen's so good and very nice. How do you
Lucira, as
tell
you're
people-
doing this, Lucira's just like very generally impressed with your cooking skills, and will use the speaker system, and we'll call everybody to say, If anyone's hungry, we got some food in the kitchen. Floor 3.
If possible, I'm wearing an apron and a chef's hat, if I could find one.
Does Kiss to cook?
I'm happy for you to find one. I'm also happy for you to, because you had your stuff ready to go, to have an apron in it. That's your own apron that you like.
I think
Still have because you haven't gone to pick for it.
I think he doesn't have an apron, just because he wouldn't have brought that much with him to the heart.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
did he bring
There is one. It's like pure. It's very dark purple, and it has a really ostentatious chef's hat. Like most of the time, you wouldn't actually use this because it's an insane thing, but you are very happily wearing this silly hat. Does everyone show up for food?
Nyx determines if they need to drag Conifer along.
Kid will head down to wherever they gets called for food, because that burger was quite a while ago.
Everybody roll me everybody except for Valis and Lucira, and only one of Nyx and Conifer, I don't care which. Roll me a D2.
Go ahead and roll it.
I said I don't care which in quite a flippant way then. I should have maybe been a little bit more enthused.
2.
Oh, yeah, because there's no D2. Yeah, you make your way to the mess hall. The elevator doors open on both sides at floor 3.
Charlie,
wait.
are you getting
On a roll for Alejandro.
Oh, I thought I said you would. I didn't. I must not have gone through. Here you go.
Amusingly, you kind of follow the smell as you're coming into the mess hall. Kid, you just are standing on that side anyway. It's the same side that the private rooms are on. So you just walk out into the kitchen. The other two go down, and standing on the same side that you were to come from the Xeno lab, it opens out into this huge room with a bunch of like metal. Well, not that huge, but a big room with a bunch of metal shelves, ladders up into it. It looks a bit like a very tall, like repository in a library. But you see Alejandro in here, who took the elevator down just before you, and he's kind of standing at the back, looking at a cabinet. And inside the cabinet, everything else has been picked clean, but inside the cabinet, you can see that he's looking at like a trio of guns. And as he hears the elevator, he turns around and goes, I don't think this is the kitchen, but I think this is an armory of some kind.
You didn't use guns.
I don't use guns. I also can't open this cabinet.
Do we want to open the cabinet or go to the kitchen?
I don't mind. I just thought it was interesting that I opened the level 3 to an armory.
Conifer turns to Nick.
They said level 3, right?
They did. They definitely said level 3.
Nix, you definitely understand that elevators can open both like doors on both sides.
But like when we clicked it, like did it show the doors on either side, or did we just like not click the right 3? Or
No, you went to level 3 and you happen to be facing this way.
okay. Yeah. So Nyx just says, "Oh, other side." Really should be a distinguishing 3 left, 3 right. It's terrible documentation, but it'll just be on that side. And as she's saying this, she's like kind of pulling on Conifer and eyeballing Alejandro, who cannot open the case with some relief.
He also wasn't trying to open the case. He's kind of just admiring through the display that there were some weapons in there, and he will follow you out. And they are the last. The 3 of you are the last to arrive to where Valis has put on this extremely like a very meat-heavy feast, which Conifer and Nyx understand certainly why that's the case, given that there's no vegetables upstairs.
So we've got meat.
Good. Ladies and gentlefolk, I present to you lunch.
Thanks.
Platter down plates.
Alejandro is already sitting down and reaching across to grab something.
I made one for you, Conifer. I'm not sure if you can turn organic foods into energy, or if you recharge through other means. But here's your plate.
Thank you. I can eat. I certainly enjoy it. It's not the only thing I can or need to do, and I appreciate it.
Good to know.
Nyx takes her plate and says, "Thank you, Captain. Never had the leader of a ship cook for me
So-
before."
Actually, vice captain. That's an important ranking thing.
That's very long, but thank
Well,
you,
you can have a longer rank than that.
Yeah, you could be Grand Vice Admiral of something.
I once told someone I was second lieutenant first class, and they believed it. I don't know if that's a real rank.
I imagine you
That
tell
seems
people
right.
you
I
a lot
think
of
that's
things.
wrong. I don't know why.
Lucira, it is a real rank in what you've dealt with. Valis, it's not in what you've dealt with.
Yeah, Kid is just
This-
taking like bites of the food. It's just I'm personally fine with him being vice captain and line cook.
This is really good.
Together usually?
Say that again.
Do those go together usually?
The dog says no.
No,
That's actually Alejandro shaking his dreadlocks. That's outside.
Adore him.
All right,
The-
eat it.
The private rooms are
Uh,
amazing, by the way. Like, they're great. They're 2 levels. It's
they're
like
pretty good.
Well, like
the
each
biggest room.
has actually 2
Yeah.
rooms.
Yeah, it's like on my planet we call them 2-room houses.
Oh,
Very
like,
descriptive.
oh, okay, like a duplex.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that I can put together in common that those words make a 2 thing.
Yeah. I continue to eat rapidly, and probably around this time, I have finished my meal.
At one
The
point,
conversation
Sirius had like
began.
2 bites and is like being very like knife and fork,
Like an
Like-
officer.
like an officer. Yeah, sitting up straight in her chair as I'm slouching in my own, eating, and eats a bite and swallows it and says, looking at Valis and I checked out the food stores, and based on some, maybe a crate or 2 is past its expiry date, so it probably shouldn't eat that. But without that crate, we're probably good. We should be okay, at least with those rations for a month and a half at least. But it's all kind of meats, so unfortunately, if any of you are
Yeah.
vegetarians, it's not going to be a fun trip till we can resupply somewhere.
or any hot sauce.
but
I
No.
looked, friend.
Really disappointingly, there is.
but how far past expiry date are we talking? This is like, is it a month? Is it a year? I mean, this is all flash freeze dried, right? So it's all right, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's certainly like within 3 months. But
To
whether
the
Lucira
serious
wants to
standards,
help
it's
is
done.
what-
It's done. It's gonna get spaced.
Nyx, I would have eaten that first, but Lucira suggested otherwise.
Rather our first meal not potentially be problematic for our insides.
Sure, would give the calamari a good show.
But just thinking
There was
long
no
term
calamari.
here, good to have a nice first meal, but maybe we make sure that I'll try it.
But yes, after this we will go in order of expiration dates accordingly.
Yep.
Kind of a test in the food supplies, if you will, first, and then we can since we'll see how this next few hours goes. If we all end up being fine, we can continue on with the closer to expiring meal packs.
It's like a morale thing, the first meal. You gotta get a good meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people think you're a good captain, even if you're bad, you get like some leeway. Not that you'll be bad, Valis.
Yeah.
Also, you're a
Uh,
vice captain.
Speaking of which, does anybody know, Umoak, can you hear us here?
You're asking, does anyone know if we're in here, or
I
specifically
kind
can
of
we
I kind of start to ask the group and then transition into like aloud, like saying, Umoak, can you hear us?
There's no
Kid,
response from
as a
Umoak.
kid in their head just says, "Hey, squid, fuck you there."
There's no response.
Nah.
Perhaps blessedly for Kid.
Uh,
I'm not sure if that means that they can't hear us or they want us to think that they can't hear us.
Nyx gives a very slight, kind of like reaches for their cup as Valis is speaking and just kind of clicks it on that second one as a I'm pretty sure it's that, but I don't want to say it out loud moment. Just kind of
Well, I'd say it's probably a safer assumption just to assume Umoak can hear us at all times, but regardless, we're
Probably
still stuck
safe.
on this ship, so
Well, I hope they can't hear us in the bathroom.
And put it past
I
that thing
have
to
to
be a
imagine they
voyeur.
do allow us that privacy.
I would hope. One would hope.
It has no concept of time. Do you think it has a concept of privacy?
They cared about
It
its
did
name.
Was omnipotent?
I don't think it's omnipotent. I think it's
Said
like
specifically to you that it wasn't.
Yeah, it said it
Whether
wasn't.
that's true or not.
okay. Onto
Also, it might be omniscient, but not omnipotent.
other matters. Lucira here agreed to organize things and will be the executive officer.
I thought I was like second in charge. I brought 2 people. You brought 2 people.
Well, you
Is that how
brought
it
2
works?
people. However, I was in charge, so my 2 people are worth more than your 2 people. Also,
I think
Lucira.
Henry looks at the teams that have started to form.
Also, Lucira has experience being an officer already, so it just seems like a natural fit.
I was a second lieutenant first class one time.
You're
I've been
also a
an
bandit.
XO
You're
for
also a
15
bandit
years.
like 3 days ago.
I mean, that's in the past.
Okay, well, so is
Alejandri,
you being
you
an
are
officer.
the head of everything else.
Great. I'll do
Lucira's organizational and morale-based role. If I need to chop somebody off, you will be the first person I tell.
He
Just
takes it.
since you're doing organization, Lucira, I guess that makes you supply officer as well, and there are at least 3 firearms just on the other side of floor 3, but
Oh.
they're locked up, and Alejandri couldn't get into the case. I was going to look at it after lunch if you like,
I
but I'm
wasn't
not
really
really
trying to get
good
into
at
it. It's an armory.
All right, well, that's good to know that we have an armory, even if it only has 3 guns, but that's fine. I believe some of you brought some with you, and I have my my own as well, so
Maybe there
Hey,
are
Teresa.
3 guns that are as fancy as this ship. Wouldn't that be nice?
Teresa,
Yes.
can you open the armory?
Yes.
I think we just found a way to open that.
I have
Good
unlocked
job,
the
third in
armory.
command.
That's why I call it using your noggin.
Alejandri was like in his head about making a joke about having 3 guns of his own, but he decided against it and kind of turns to you and not realizing what's happened. He goes, "Thanks."
Right. So I think I really didn't mean to place myself in this leadership position, but
Yeah, well, you sure jumped at it.
well, I wanted the ship. I didn't realize I was going to be in charge of you all for that long. Anyways, I guess we can take stock of everything and wait until Umoak is ready to go. I'm open if anybody wants to discuss anything else, but I think I've said everything I need to say so far.
Nyx, Conifer, did you both? Because we went to go do the kitchens. Did you guys? Oh God, I'm slipping into Southern. Did you? So bad. Did you both find anything interesting if you left the bridge?
Nyx just turns and waits on Conifer, like her arms crossed over her chest, and she's just kind of like smirking.
So there's a greenhouse upstairs, and I noticed that our meal did not have any sort of greenery associated with it, and I think that's a problem I can solve. Maybe not immediately, but in a few weeks, we could have fresh vegetables, and I think that might resolve some of our concerns about food moving forward.
Excellent. Yeah, this would definitely improve our nutritional balance, for sure.
Also, it's quite beautiful.
You know, my mother could make some excellent potatoes out in space. If you are capable of producing such things, that would be lovely.
Potatoes should be easy enough, yes. Any other requests? I can go see if those seeds are in the storage.
I like
Peppers.
a good lime.
Potatoes and limes.
What's
Peppers.
the name of that grain that Chips used to eat for breakfast, Jack?
The
Otherwise I'll
green
make some-
grits.
I have a special request. Can you, if there is any green hulled grits about yay big,
You probably know what the name is. I'm just taking a little bit of time to come up with a plant name because I just did like 8 of them for Kristen separately.
Yeah.
I think it's called like iridis.
Yeah.
And it's like
If
it's the husk of like it's a wheat-like thing, but they're far bigger.
Yeah.
Like,
So if there's any iridis growing in there, or you have any iridis to grow, can you just use it for compost maybe?
I can take that request, and I will do my best.
Conifer, you know that iridis is you have 3 in xenobotany, I assume, with your very
Yes,
fancy. You know that iridis is extremely rare, but the places that do grow it tend to think of it as a pest plant. But it is a very rare plant, so if you had some seeds here, your inclination would be to save them because they're rare, not get rid of them. They only consider it to be a pest plant because it saps a lot of nutrients out of the soil.
I don't think Conifer wants to disagree with Nyx on this request. I will
Peer
see
pressure.
what we.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure the robot.
I can see what we have, and if you want, we can work together to maybe find a better usage than just composting for those seeds.
Not on the breakfast table?
We can get on the breakfast table.
No, not on the breakfast table. Never on the breakfast table, please.
Not on the breakfast table.
No. I never want to see another bowl of iridis. At least until I get back into main space. No iridis, please.
Oh, okay.
Very
but also
weird.
not in the compost pile is my request.
We'll figure something out.
Okay.
Maybe worry about it after you find out if this plant even exists on this ship.
Nyx acknowledges this and then looks over at Kid and Lucira. So I know what he does, I know what you're doing, and she looks at Kid and she goes, so not that we're not gonna need things shot, but do you do other things than shoot things?
Well, like I said, I do some recon, which Nick. I don't want to say Nyx. That's not my character. Kid.
Three-letter name.
Yeah, Kid. Kind of lightly taps their shoulder, which they still have their jacket off, and a little drone bot pops out.
Oh, I thought they were yours. What's its name?
Dart. Say hi, Dart. And the little drone just kind of whoop, whoop.
Nyx addresses her next comment to Dart instead of Kidren, and her complete awkwardness in talking to everyone where she's twitching and just staring a little bit at them. Dart, if you ever need any support, I'm here. And she holds her spanner up and then just sets it back on the she takes it off her belt and puts it on the table. And then looks at Kid and realizes, oh, maybe Kid wants that. But she just stares at Kid and doesn't say anything after that. She just
Also, Dart is a sentience level of one of those robotic puppies. Where,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it can react to you, but it's definitely just a robot. Like,
Oh yeah,
the
no,
kid is
I mean,
controlling a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Lucira
that's
definitely clocks Nyx's personality change when talking to the little dart instead of people. Let's take a little note in her smart slab.
Yep. While Dart is out, automatically one of the visors for Kid is activated, and Kid sends whatever signal for Dart to once again just kind of like nod at Nyx. But aside from that, I can talk to people.
Very good.
All right. Well, if you are bored, I guess for now you can, if you're comfortable with it, you can kind of take stock of everything in the armory, kind of see what we're working with in terms of ship provided defenses.
Oh, I was already going to go look at the guns, but sure.
Perfect.
We kind of pull back and we get to from this meal that you're all having, and it kind of cuts into a montage of the next 48 hours, ending with the star map. And I tell you, you do open the armory. There are 3 guns. There's a rifle, just like a standard rifle. There's a pistol, and then there's a shotgun. But they're all pretty much standard guns. They were in this cabinet because they were different to Kid. When you go over, you can kind of look and see that the shelves are designed for a different size of guns than these 3. So they were just somewhere to put them, and whoever picked this over clean didn't care enough about them. But you basically have a gun of every type added to your collective tools. You go around and you kind of look at what weapons the ship has. It has 3. It has 5 gun ports, 3 of which are filled. There's a space cannon below the elevator. You have to like go down from the elevator into like the little bottom bit of the fin, and the space cannon like swivels out. And then at the very top, past the barracks, there's 2 topside weapon slots that are mini shots. So there is some defenses, but the ship is not really designed for defense in that regard. We also see through your montage, you kind of are the person that looks through the barracks the first time, and they are very much just like where they're behind the private rooms, and where the private rooms are double story. These are 2 different floors. One has 20 beds, 10 on each side. The bottom one has 20 beds, 10 on each side. There's a footlocker at the bottom of every bed. It's a very like familiar Spartan barracks. It's not a lot of other stuff. Most of the footlockers have been either leave it open or just are open, and the ones that are closed have also been like checked through. We see some shots of Conifer going through the various Xenolab stuff, finding some seeds for potatoes, space potatoes. There's no iridis, but there's a couple of other like standard vegetables that would get used. None of them are interesting in terms of their chemical makeup for your stims, sadly. Although you could probably condense a potato down to like 1 unit of type A material if you really were in a pinch.
Food is food, and that's fine.
We get a lot of, there's just like you tinkering around. You are learning how the xenophysiology area works as well. Probably across the 2 days. Maybe Conifer, you would encourage everybody to get a checkup, because you did you get thrown through space. Who would go and get a physical checkup from Conifer?
Oh, Lucira would go first.
Lucira's like, yeah, we'll do it now.
Yeah, I'll just do it now before I go to bed.
Valis would. Nyx?
Like a physical?
Yeah.
Check your reflexes, and you're good.
Kidren, I
Some
guess.
blood
that's
work,
gotta
all
be a
that good
roll.
stuff.
I think that's got to be some sort of persuasion. or something for Nyx.
Conifer, you're welcome to make a
I
leadership
can make
roll.
a roll. I don't think Conifer's going to force anybody who doesn't want
Yeah,
Yeah,
to.
I'll just
I think if it was
I
anything,
don't think
it
it
would be-
makes sense for you to even make a roll. I think that it's like an optional thing that you're like, I'm available to check you up if you would like. All of you are fine that do go. Nyx, you have to decide on your own. Nobody's going to try and persuade you. Is how I've
yeah.
decided.
Then in that case, like if Conifer doesn't like make a special like statement, Nyx just never shows up. Like Nyx is in the engineering wing while all this is going on, and at dinner when people are mentioning this, she's just like, "What? There were physicals?"
The only thing noticeable, all Lucira, Valis, and Kid all have relatively normal physiology. You do notice that Alejandri, and your understanding of Rethans as a race, he is older than Valis and Lucira, but they live longer, and thusly he's less mature looking. But you notice during the checkup that his left hand, his like actual left hand, the joints have started to crystallize in the fingers, which I think from what I sent you, you understand what that is.
I that's like not outside the normal behavior. Are they okay? Like, is that like something that they've come to terms with?
I think you're kind of so blunt that I like. Do you just ask him that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he says, it takes a little bit of adjustment. Like you trade speed and litheness for something else, but that something else is what we're meant to be. So it's like growing up. I'm meant to be what I will be in 10 years' time, not what I am now. We spend most of our life in the other form.
I was meant to be something that I think I'm journeying away from. So that's an interesting idea, that you're journeying towards what you're meant to be.
Everyone's journeying towards what they're meant to be. Nobody should decide what you're meant to be, but you. There are Rethans that fight this forever. You can take pills to try and stop it. But my parents were happy with this. Not every Rethan gets to see their fourth decade. And you can make an understanding roll.
$30-20.
There's a sadness that Alejandri has never had in your presence before when he says that some Rethans don't get to see their fourth decade. Like, he's talking about someone in particular, but you can also tell with 20 that he is not going to, without prompting, continue that thought.
Conifer, like, knowing that this is like sort of worked for Nyx, like if Alejandri doesn't pull away, will like tug very gently on the sleeve. If you ever want to talk, I can't relate my own personal experiences to what you are going through or what you might go through in the future, but I'd be happy to hear.
He nods and like closes that fist, and you can feel like you're probably holding that sleeve. He closes that fist, and you can kind of hear the crystallization of the joints where he's already losing that mobility. But he like flexes it and then flicks the fingers back out and says, I will take that on board. I like talking, so I will come visit. You can come visit me. I don't have anything to do. I'm like in charge of everything, apparently. It feels like a very broad thing.
I don't know who's in charge of anything. It's unclear.
Well, I'm in charge of everything, except for what I'm not in charge of.
I think I'm one of the two people that you brought, so are you in charge of me?
I don't feel comfortable with that dynamic. How about this? Let's say that if there's a fight, I'll give you an idea of what to do. And if there's something to do with plants or like doctoring, you tell me what to do.
That sounds good. I like that. Thank you.
Great. He leaves. We catch up with the montage with Nyx, who has just left. So Valis.
Okay. I
Spending-
think I
Go
want to have a scene where Valis is coming in, looking at this room that he has. I don't think he really cares which one he got, so it's okay if it's one of the smaller ones. Like technically,
Yeah, they're smaller in a very minor manner.
a very minor way. Yeah.
The frontmost ones are the smallest, and the backmost ones are the
And
biggest.
they're furnished, right? They've got like couches and stuff.
Not couches. They have uncomfortable
Chairs.
metal chairs and metal beds.
Kind of walks in, takes the overcoat off, which he's been wearing this whole time, and throws it on the chairs. Stops and reaches into his breast pocket, pulls out an old, a physical photograph that he has. It's not actually a Polaroid, but it's clearly like supposed to look like a Polaroid. But it's just like a digital image, and it's obviously a little bit crumpled, like he has completely crumpled it and then like done it out several times in a row, or not in a row, but like in the past, it's been like crumpled and thrown, and then probably picked up and fixed up and put back in his pocket. And it's of this really only the camera sees this, but there's this very beautiful looking lavender skinned alien woman. He kind of like looks at it for a moment. Oh boy, what have I gotten myself into? Looks around at the ship, and then we could cut away to everybody else's stuff.
We cut away from that to the lavender-skinned woman in quite a short, deep purple dress. It's actually the same purple as the apron that you found. Maybe that's why you're thinking about it. I forgot she had lavender skin. But we cut to her, and she's sitting in like a combination bar restaurant, watching a screen that's like showing an external view of the heart exploding. And there's like a look that crosses her face, but then a man slides in across her and like touches her hand, and the camera cuts away. The Lucira, you have continued your relatively methodical examination.
I'm just
by taking the
cataloging
stairs up.
everything in this ship.
Yeah. Up from the mess hall, there's an enormous recreation area. It has space for like sporting courts where people would be able to do various like sports from their home worlds. Has a lot of tables which is set up with like an intergalactic version of chess, which is a 4-player version of chess that's played on like 3 axes, and it's very awkward. You have, I think, tried many times to learn how to play this chess game because Melba liked it, but it's just like indecipherable. It's
Yeah,
like you have to be taught as a child.
Yeah, like she tried to teach me so much, and like I could get like the 2 dimensions, like I could get the basic levels of chess figured out, but as soon as we added that 3rd dimension, I would lose just every time.
Yeah.
I would win like 1 in 5 games against her in regular 2-dimensional chess.
And that one was when she was in the middle of like a conference call with somebody else, and she's like playing you separately.
Or she's had some drinks, and it's like I'm like I can win now. I've been pretending to drink but didn't, just so I could win.
Yes. There's a lot of different kind of that stuff where people can gather. When you have a bigger ship, it's a space that people can exist in. We follow Nyx probably for the longest amount of time, but the shortest scenes, as we see Nyx walk down from the stairs in the bridge and find a life support room. You check all of the machines and everything is fine. And you go from that room into a room that's generating shields that are around the ship, and you check that and everything's fine. Below that, there's a storage room where like a lot of extra mechanical parts and maintenance stuff is kept. And we watch like Nyx very methodically. I think this is the first like similarity between Lucira and Nyx that we really get, where Nyx gets into this maintenance storage, which is a mess, and maybe spends a long time cataloging it and putting everything into its place so that she can find it very easily.
And she not just sets it up so that she can find it, but where Lucira earlier had like set out to everybody's slabs, I think there was something about something being shared to its slabs. Like there is essentially a spreadsheet that goes out to everyone with things highlighted, where you'd find them, exactly what shelf, what box, what position in the box. It's exhaustive, and it will make a person think, well, when is Nick sleeping? But the answer is she is in that room. She is sleeping in that room.
I think certainly because you start at the bridge, probably. So you maybe sleep there the first night. The second night, you have made your way into the sphere. There's an enormous cargo hold at the base. The entire bottom half of the sphere is a cargo hold. You get onto the walkway that goes to the room, but when you're not intending to go to it, that room is just a sphere that you can't access. You walk around it. Above you, there's like a staircase up, and you go there. It leads to where the generator is powering all of the shipside stuff. And then you continue walking around where you find the engines. And these engines are not the best. While everything on this ship is great, this generally is powered by Umoak. But these engines, they could use some work, they could use some upgrading. They are disappointing after everything else that you've seen on this ship. You were hoping for something better, I think.
I think Nick sits there in that disappointment for a long time, and then she says aloud to the engines, well, if I didn't have something to fix on this ship, I guess there wouldn't be much point in me at all. So let's get to know each other, shall we? And just starts making notes of how she would fix things if and when she gets the parts to do so.
Make an applied mechanics roll. I think that's what that skill's for.
Applied engineering.
Engineering. It used to be just called mechanics. Long ago, in a very early iteration of this.
I think
And
the
since I'm not
spreadsheet
trying
that
to do
Nick,
it. Okay.
the spreadsheet that Nyx sends out, it's like everyone keeps getting pings of like spreadsheets from Nyx for all the mechanical stuff, and then spreadsheets from Lucira about the non-mechanical stuff of like where everything is. Like, please keep track of the food you take out of the freezer so that we can keep a running tally of how much we have left.
Henry stops carrying his slab.
And I ran that as int with the because she's not doing
Yes.
it yet. Just thinking about it.
The ship is in quite good condition as a whole. The engines are at -4 condition, which will affect specifically the speed of the ship. Which I'll give you a ship sheet between this and next week. So these engines like have a lot of work to get to being like just okay.
Despite the fact that they can easily see each other every day and within hour, like they can make contact with each other a dozen times a day if they like. Nyx sends that out in a general ping. Anybody who is concerned with piloting to treat the engines with, tender hands.
Valis, you just get this thing and be kind to the engines. That's the main pilot.
Makes a mental note to try, assuming that they have a need to push the engines at some point.
Lucira does Temeke. Sounds good, thank you. I'll relay this to Valis if he's ignoring your messages.
Already the two of you are like irritatingly messaging people on Smart Slabs.
Yes.
That
is my job.
Quickly, Kidren has adopted the practice of never leaving their smart slab plugged into their room speakers, just so the like ping, ping, ping doesn't go across the entire room.
It's only exactly when you're listening to music.
Yeah.
Once those 48 hours are done, though, Lucira will stop pinging so much. It's just more of a getting everything calibrated and marked so that it's all good to go. And operation of that will be much quieter from her. But
those 48 hours do pass, and you're like inputting yet. You don't know the exact timing. You're inputting yet another set of equations. and as you input it, Teresa comes over the intercom in the room that you're in and says, the computations are complete. It's better to be on the bridge, where I can display more accurately where we are.
Excellent. I'll head there right now. It's probably in the rec room doing a workout routine, kind of keep my fitness up.
Yeah, there's like public gym equipment stuff here.
Yeah,
Plenty of
medicine
protein.
balls,
Yeah,
ab workout.
it's like a standing bike. You head to the bridge, and as soon as you enter, Teresa pulls up this very thin piece that kind of looks like a partition, but it bursts into life in a familiar sense to you because it's a holographic screen, and shows the star map that you are familiar with, the Imperial star map that ends at Sector 576, and then pushes it across a little bit, and there's a star, which is where you have worked out that you are, which is about between 20 and 30 days of faster than light travel outside of the Imperial space. Because of the way that the galaxy works, it's like it extends further and further the further out that you get.
Are we on like the side where there's nothing, or the side closer to pirate space?
Closer to pirate space.
Okay. So we're gonna have to go through pirate space to get back.
Yes, probably.
Or otherwise, like detour way around.
Yeah, or detour way around. But Lucira in particular knows that is called pirate space. Not
That's
always
also where she
pirates
grew
are
up, so
it's not that bad. It's just like the lawless frontier.
kind of pretty much where she grew up, so she's fine with it.
Yeah. But yeah, you're maybe. I'll tell you the exact sector that you're 20 days from, because that will be easy. An easier thing to visualize. I had to get the star maps up. You are 20 days away from sector 568. So on that axis,
At the very edge.
Yeah, well, you were definitely at the past the edge, right? You could have been 20 days past 576, and then that takes you over a year to get into the center.
Where is New Dallas?
None of you
We don't know.
Mm-mm.
Also, it's Dallas Prime.
Oh,
New Dallas
sorry.
is a different place.
Dallas Prime.
I
New
also
Dallas
almost
is
wrote it
on
as like
Dallas.
Dallas, Texas, because
Yeah, I regretted
America,
saying it when
maybe.
I said it.
My brain just keeps going like, oh, I can get there in a couple hours. How
It was
convenient.
one of those ones where in my brain I meant to pronounce it as Dallas, but I didn't. So I'll just leave with it.
I thought you said Dulles at first, but then I'm like, that's even weirder, like an airport.
That's like, yeah, Dulles Airport.
Yeah, okay, I know where that is. Yeah, so Lucira, you've worked out where you are in a sector that you can't move from.
Well, shit. I'll send a message to Valis, just letting him know I found out where we are. It's going to take us, and the amount of time it would take us to get back into Imperial space.
I'll go to the bridge, since we apparently need to, or not need to, but are recommended to go to the bridge.
Yeah, it's a bigger holographic map that is a better understanding of roughly where you are, and you see it. Teresa has not put that map away.
So, well, nowhere to go but forward.
Nope.
I guess we'll make the jump, and
Suppose we should check in with Umoak.
Yeah, so I should note that you have scanned this sector and it's empty. There's nothing transmitting any beacons of any kind.
Literally just us out here.
is there anything in 568?
You can both make me outer rings checks.
Sure. Nice.
Lucira, you can have advantage.
I can do what?
Have advantage.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll this as wisdom.
Sure. I don't mind.
And then I do a D2 at the end of it, right? And then a D?
D1 for advantage. So 2d20 d1 plus your
22.
bonus. Wisdom.
Yeah.
24.
So what stat did you roll with?
Charisma.
Charisma. Okay. Valis, with the 22, you know that most of the extreme out ring does have stuff in it. Just mathematically, it's higher than 50% that this would have something in it, and you have like a memory of seeing a map with like all the dots of where sectors are, and the ones towards the bottom of this all are inhabited. With your wisdom. Lucira, you've been to Sector 568 on one of your ships. I don't know which one.
Probably
it
the
does-
Tempesta.
Yeah, the Tempesta would make sense because it does have an Imperial outpost. It's one of the few Imperial outposts in this whole area. It's not very big, but it does have something there.
I'll say, I don't know about this system. Most of these edge territories have uninhabited planet though, so I think we'll find something.
I've actually been to this 568 before. There's an outpost, not large, only a few people on it, but we'll at least have somebody we can stop at and hopefully refuel at.
Yeah, get some more food. It's gonna take 20 days to be there. Let's have our stores.
Yeah.
We come back to the main issue of my life, at least of the last few years. I don't have that much money to pay for food.
As XO, I can do that.
Okay. I mean, I have
confront that cost.
I have some money, but like long term.
No, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable doing the initial expenses, and maybe if we can pick up some jobs along the way, we can kind of split it between the crew. But
right, yeah, and I'm happy if you want to prize stuff. I'm happy to help with payment with what credits I have. I have a little bit saved up. I'm hoping to. I can't find any work. At least make some of my minimum payment. But I feel like we're gonna get there. You can go scope out food and stuff. And I'll take maybe Kid and try to find work.
Works for me. I think it'd be good just to get something, just a quick job, just to kind of get ourselves all calibrated to this.
Kid and Alejandro.
And kind of see, at that point, it will have been some time since the heart exploded.
Yeah, we can
It'd be
find
good
out.
to kind of discuss some news.
We can find out who the fuck attacked them.
Could both of you roll me just a raw intelligence check with your intelligence stat to remember stuff from the conversation with Umoak? Actually, Lucira, you take extremely detailed notes. I'll just tell you. I just like remembered that
I'm gonna roll it anyway. I only have an intelligence modifier of 1.
I don't think I remembered that much.
14.
All right. You probably wouldn't have remembered, Lucira, except you do take quite good notes. Umoak said that, like, to faster than light jump to travel 1 day, he takes like 40 days to just ambiently get that. You can't faster than light travel because he doesn't have the energy to do it.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I did.
So you are kind of just floating in space right now, even though you know where you are. You are.
You know.
So, sorry, I think I misunderstood something. I thought we were waiting for him to be able to jump, but we were waiting for him just to be able to, like, sublight.
Yeah, he can, like, move through, because it's been a couple of days, he can just move through this system.
Okay, that's Lucira.
But if we're going, if we're traveling just through any sector, like a single sector, we can do a sector, like if we're in the outer rings, it's 10 days per single sector, correct?
Yes.
So, and that's at light speed or faster than light travel.
Yeah.
So what would that equivalent distance be if we're just
I think that's
essentially floating through space, like on thrusters?
Far enough that we will run out of supplies.
You'll all die. before you get to it.
Can we I don't know what the
Awesome.
fuel is here, but as this is coming up, I'm gonna say, all right, I think we need Nix, and I'm gonna phone on my data pad. Nix, I think you're in room. Would you mind coming up to the bridge?
I think Nyx doesn't respond immediately, and then you hear this vague, sure, Captain, I'll be right over. And then she's not immediately right over, she's distracted.
While they're distracted, when you say not immediately, do you mean it takes 10 minutes longer than it should, or an hour longer than it should?
Yeah, what's the delay time here?
The delay time is probably as long as it takes Valis to call again.
Okay. 5 minutes later, you get another call. Nyx, I need to talk to you about the fuel situation.
Oh, of course, Captain. And then having that specific request is there immediately.
I'm learning. I say to Lucira, I'm learning. I need to figure out what I need to say to get them to jump.
This is good practice for you as leadership.
So, as Nyx walks in, the first thing she says is, the fuel situation, mundane fuel is 0, right, Captain? That's where we were at last time I checked, and you don't exactly get more fuel.
Yes.
Taretha does say fuel reserves for mundane travel at 15%.
That's
because
amazing.
he does
I love this shit.
generate power that can do that.
Lucira, I would assume that Valis knows a little bit more than I do about what constitutes the fuel we need for fast and light travel. I don't know.
In a standard ship, Valis would know that faster than light fuel is essentially a maybe foot-long tube that has a very powerful substance in it that is used for fast and light travel. It powers tachyon drives and all of the other types of drives.
Nick, so we don't have any fuel, and we're not going to get anywhere quick. So what I think we need to figure out now is there's no living stuff around us. Is there planets and those kinds of things?
Yeah, you could probably. The problem is with your system scan, it only picks up beacons that are being sent out.
Sure.
Doesn't pick up
but you can just float through. Something that doesn't have interstellar technology won't send out a beacon.
We don't really have sensor arrays to pick up just.
Is there any way we can skim a gas giant or a source from a sun somehow? The prerequisite fuels.
I'm gonna let Nyx know because of that critical spirituals roll that is just the clutchest spiritual roll ever. That the way that this thing consumes, it could consume anything. The problem is its location. It is on the ship. You don't have any way that you have seen on the ship to pick up any energy from a gas giant other than to jettison that faster than light orb at the thing, and whether Umoak would have let you do that, and then what would happen afterwards.
Yeah, we'd still be screwed.
That might be good for him or it. That's why I didn't want you to be saying mystic, because I didn't want to be genuine. But equally, it doesn't have to be organic material. Umoak could be fed cannibalized bits of the ship itself. It's how much you're willing to rip from the ship to fuel the fast and light drive.
I think. Well, Nyx gets this, so I'll let Nyx explain it to Valis.
Nyx crosses her arms and looks at Valis, and then the modular bridge, and says, "Well, it's just like any engineering problem. The captain can get it done. So maybe we decide what we want to keep, and I'm assuming that's all of the crew. So anything else on the ship that we're can eat. Also maybe we could hit him. And she's like, maybe if we could find some asteroids with high metallurgic content, kind of like the ship, maybe we could mine a little bit. I don't have any real mining equipment that I know of, but maybe like loose rocks with high content, and so that is her making. Would that be a theoretical science roll?
You can just know that while that might work, if it hadn't high enough content, it would power stuff. Your ship just doesn't have anything to gather it. You don't, as far as you know, have any way to be outside the ship's atmosphere. So how would you get it? You just try and
Okay,
We
scoop
don't
it
even
with
have like vac
So-
suits or anything.
Got it.
No,
I
they've
think
been picked.
as
Yeah, then she
this
says
is
to Val, so
explained,
your fancy ship, how much of you do you want to keep? Because the
uh,
captain can eat anything.
as is explained, Valis is thinking, and yeah, Valis was like having the same instinct, like, oh, well, maybe an asteroid, we can stop at the moon and just like throw shovel shit in there. But as you're kind of explaining, like, we can't really do that. How much do we have to sacrifice? Like, can I feed it a gun, like one of the mini cannons, or are we talking like several rooms?
You make me an applied engineering check, but I want you to, instead of, I don't know how to run this actually. I'll just get you to make a spiritual check, but you have no, make applied engineering. It's the same. I don't know what I'm talking about. Make applied engineering.
As I'm saying is, I should just cut straight through the middleman, and maybe we should just go talk to Umoak.
We can do that. Also, this kind of ship, you would think you'd have tons of extra material to work with because that. Oh God, you're doing it to me too.
It is
That's true.
infectious.
Normally, you have a lot of extra material to work with, but this ship is so streamlined. I mean, have you seen these bulkheads? I stuck an arm in there. I could pretty much reach the other side, back side, no problem.
That's
Please, Valis, you've noticed that as well.
Yes.
that's
I regret
unusual.
taking the fanciest ship that was there.
Except for there's no other ship that could have gotten us to faster than light from the Heart, and the Heart was being busy blown up. So I think you did a good job on this one, Captain.
That's true. Okay.
You can't go from
You've
gravity.
learned from Conifer to be emotionally supportive.
Yeah, well, it's a ship thing. This is the only thing she can be useful for.
Are you going to go talk to
Like
Umoak?
the
Is
ship.
that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'm waiting for if maybe Nyx, because they're making that roll like right away, so maybe Nyx can answer the question before we get there.
You don't really know how Umoak's whole thing works. So with a 20, you're not sure what giving it a gun versus giving it like the entire shields matrix would do.
Let's go talk to Umoak.
Mm.
Nyx, you may stay behind if you wish.
I'll go with you, Valis. I don't think
Okay.
any of us should be talking to them alone.
We go to Umoak.
And Nyx,
Nick-
despite all of her mumbling, does come along. I get them a little bit.
All right. Vice Captain.
Captain. We had a query, as I've come to understand that we're not going to be able to jump without sacrifice. What would you need to consume or do from us in order to make a jump, at least one, so we could get to 5, 6, 8, and hopefully source more normal fueling methods?
What distance? How many days are faster than light?
Be 20.
it like is a low rumble, and it's a low rumble of like irritation. 20 days of faster than light is a challenge. I can. It thinks about what it knows to be on the ship. What facilities are intact?
Lucira?
All of them, as far as we've managed to suss out, right?
The engines are
between Nyx and I.
they're intact, but we can't sacrifice those, and they're not doing too well either.
Well,
As this is going on, Nyx is paying attention to Wirak's tone and responses because she kind of wants to know if Wirak knew this question was coming and is just like letting it play out.
All the personal arms, I've been informed, except for the most mundane, have been taken.
well, consuming a single gun does little. Organic matter is best.
Okay.
But in lieu of that, make an understanding check, Nyx. In lieu of that, 20 days of faster than light travel, and I am tired. You just have a static 0 to understanding. You don't get
Wisdom is
anything.
0. Charisma is
That's
1.
fine. You don't get anything. It was charisma, so it's a 13, but you don't get anything.
Okay.
All right. I could travel 10 days if you uninstalled all of the weapons and I consumed them.
What if we gave you 90% of the larder? That's a lot of meat. I mean, we keep what we need for exactly 20 days, and then we give you the rest. So that's like, I think I said 90%. It's more like half.
Yeah, it's 50%.
And this is another thing that Nyx is thinking about in the background because she knows that the ship could basically eat them if it chose. She doesn't want to ask it out loud, but she is referring back to when she realized that moment, and she's like, I wonder if he could just eat a little bit of us.
You think?
Yes, she thinks, and it's almost, and she's unconsciously, because of her habit of talking to the stuff she engineers, she's like, I wonder if you could eat just a little bit of us.
Kind of.
You said
again,
that
it's
out
not
loud.
No, but still in her head, which is the same in this room. Wirak to Valis says, what kind of stores?
A lot of meat, pork, beef.
More
Muscle
the
tissues
volume,
of creatures,
the volume.
typically.
I will look to Lucira.
Yeah, you know the volume. I can't be bothered.
He will quote as accurately as possible.
That plus the weapons would be enough, but it would leave me weakened for future faster than light travel. Also, yes, I could eat you. Flail.
Excuse me?
But just like a little bit. Nyx like is past caring about the not like
Eat you a small amount?
again, are you physically consuming my organic material, or can you skim off the surface of us just a bit? How much energy would that be providing?
If I consumed every organism that is the crew of this ship, while it would solve me these conversations, it would not be enough to travel 20 days. And I cannot consume just 10% off the top.
So it's a volume thing. That's really good to
I
know.
could,
It's very reassuring.
but it would be a literal 10% off the top of your body.
Thank you, Captain.
I'm having a quick thought here. Can you actually eat things unless we put them into the orb? Are you capable of leaving that orb?
This orb, no.
Good to know.
But this orb is not as immalleable as it looks. And the orb like begins to expand slightly towards you, but not in a way that gets even like that close to you, to just show that like it can move. To your question, 50% of the food, all of the weapons would be 20 days, but I would be weakened. Otherwise, you could feed me the shield matrix, that would work, or the engines, that would also work, but it would leave you without both a shield matrix or the engines.
Well, Valis says, Vice Captain, leave the decision up to you.
I could give your crew limited protection against the atmosphere outside if you found something in this sector.
How limited?
About an hour.
I mean, that's doable.
Oh, an hour once every cycle, so day.
That could work. I'm not bad at salvage. I'm not the best at the actual physical part of it, but I'm pretty good at. I've got some experience for it lately. That's actually what I was doing before. For the yeah.
Well, I have general knowledge on salvage, not specifics. Nix, if you think we can work this, that is my preference. I would rather not sacrifice more than food in order to make this happen possible.
I mean, I'm gonna want to upgrade the engines anyway, so maybe if we could sacrifice an engine or two, but it's easier to escape a conflict than it is to necessarily fight your way through it. I say we salvage some, and if we can't, or if we're gonna have to spend more energy doing that, then the weapons should go first.
Yeah, I think we give this maybe 3 days, and if we are not finding nearly enough, we revert back to food and guns.
I'm okay with that.
And guns. Oh, the big guns. I was
The
gonna
big
say,
guns.
small guns don't do anything. All right. So because we have a time limit, because one of us is not going to be here next week. 3 days is what you're willing to give it, right? To look for something in the system. Normally, I would cut to Kid or Conifer and see what they've been up to, but we do have to push on a little bit. Who is looking for stuff? Because like you can fly around the system, but ultimately you're just visually looking through the front of the ship
Oh, we
because
don't
you
have
don't
scanners.
not for this type of material.
Valis would ask everybody to look then.
All right, so you're like spending more and more time in the bridge.
Could I have written up like a script of some kind to kind of like to help with the visual, like to kind of map out the visual fields to kind of help our poor eyesight in space with kind of picking things out?
Like on like you want to make a code for computers?
Mhm.
Yes, you can make a computers check.
Okay.
With whatever that is normally, int, because you're not
Int,
doing it
yeah.
speedily.
No.
Would a scope help out with this at
Oh,
all?
it's a 1.
It would give you slightly more vision, but not a lot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
blind
you
myself.
start writing
I
a
hit
code.
enter on it, and then it just flashes
Yeah,
in my face. I go,
You
nope.
start writing a code, and it has just an intrinsic error, and it takes you maybe like 2 or 3 hours where you're just trying to work out this error, and you realize the error is that the entire code is non-functioning.
I just am missing a parenthesis at the very beginning.
Yeah, and then
As a coder, this is my problem.
then you
Oh, yeah.
run the code, and it also doesn't do what you wanted it to do, and realize that really your entire avenue of like looking at it was bad, and you've just wasted 3 hours.
Yep.
So we're all making perception rolls.
Yes, you can all make perception rolls.
-1. Good for me.
Do you have one of
So-
you that has decided to be the comms officer? in this situation? Sad for Kid.
So, in the perception rolls we're making here, we're making perception rolls because we don't have scanners specialized. But what do our scanners detect?
Your scanners are designed to pick up specific beacons that all ships are showing at a given time, or all settlements. Anywhere that you could go to port. They have a far more limited short-range scanner, but when you're just in a giant solar system, you're like heading towards the biggest stars, basically, hoping that they will be planets.
It's kind of pings of like ships have, everyone has to have like their radar on kind of thing.
And if you see the ship that doesn't, that's deeply unsettling.
That's a pirate ship.
No, even they have their beacons on because it's a way that things don't get mulched in faster than light travel.
That's true.
Do we have any way, perhaps in the astronavigation systems, of detecting like gravitational fields, to know like what areas should be avoided, etc., when you're piloting, or jumping to faster than light? Something that the gravitational fields could then be manipulated to figure out where there might be a body to look at?
No, because the star maps out here are not good.
Got it.
So you're looking, and you are heading towards stars, and then one of them ends up being a gas giant, as Valis had suggested might work, but it doesn't because you can't really collect that as 6 individuals. The third day, you're kind of heading further.
Nick's never rolled, by the way. Not that it matters. They just roll bad. Can Alejandro roll?
Can Alejandro roll perception? Yeah. Yes, I'll let Alejandro roll perception. He has a plus -1.
Hey, same as me.
Nat 20.
It'd be hilarious if you got a nat 20.
A 16. That's the best so far.
He got pretty much the best. But you're heading on the third day, the third morning, before you're like we got to give up because we haven't found anything. Out towards the next bright point. So has one of you taken like the comms role on the bridge? Was my main question.
Would that be? I think that wouldn't be the XO's job. That'd be somebody else.
It would make sense for you particularly to be doing it because of your skill set, but you could have delegated it to someone else.
That's true.
Do you trust any of the other 4 that aren't Valis, and including Valis, to talk to people coming in more than you, even though you're not expecting? Okay.
That's a good point. I do not.
There is nobody that Conifer has not made instant friends with.
Lucira, she does really enjoy Conifer's presence, but the just too friendliness of Conifer, she like wholeheartedly like appreciates Conifer as a person and as a droid, but does not think that they would be a good fit for
first contact.
For first contact with other ships.
I wholly agree.
That is the important thing, because you get a ping on your beacon scans of the system as something faster than light jumps into the system. A long code pops up that for anybody else I would make a roll, but for Lucira, it is an Imperial Discovery ship, which you know very well. You used to train people to go out onto them into the expanse of this area. The code kind of translates. You can do it manually, but the ship eventually translates it. Translates to a ship called the IDS Variance. And it's currently in your system. You don't really know how long for. It could be just preparing to jump again. Although it will have picked up your beacon.
Yeah. Ooh. Let's write that down. I'll ping Valis, as he is technically up the chain of command for me, and ask him to come to the bridge if he's not already there.
You're all on the bridge looking out the window.
Okay.
Like third day, you're all like
I
sitting
see. Okay.
there.
I like if you ping me and I glance over.
Yeah. It's just a force of habit of just pinging people because they're not usually on.
Yeah, the ping goes off, and Kid, who probably had just like it didn't help any, but has had their rifle out leaning on like a thing to look out the window with like their head down, just sits
like into the scope.
Yeah, it's just like as soon as the ping happens, they just immediately head comes. Can we stop? We're
Sorry, sorry. It's a force of habit. I will try to stop doing that. I'm used to much larger ships. Sorry.
Do you have something for me?
Yeah. I worked for many years on a training ship for or imperial training ship for those who were going to be going out into space, and I just got a ping that an imperial discovery ship just popped in to this sector.
You think they might part ways with some fuel, maybe for some credits?
I mean, they might. It wouldn't hurt to ask them. I mean, if we've seen their ping, they've definitely seen ours. So.
I think you know that part of the mission is to help people that are stranded. Like they're essentially the Enterprise, right? Like they shouldn't interfere, but they always interfere.
But worst case, and I'm not saying we open with this or nothing, we shoot the fuck out of them and take what ship parts are there to fuel our good friend, the Insatiable.
This is usually a discovering kind of ship. Yes, Nix?
Imperial ship?
Yes. But in terms of exploration,
Again.
not military.
No, we're not shooting an Imperial ship.
This is not my opener, but I'm not gonna fucking die here.
I don't want to die here either.
Hey,
I don't want to die here either. These people will theoretically be very welcoming and helpful. That is the mission of these types of ships.
Right. I like
the possibility I don't think we've discussed yet is, could we not just board this ship and leave the squid behind?
I feel
that ship Lucira knows does not go back. Like that ship is that goes out, and then once like a big enough portion of the crew die, it autopilots back with its information.
But a strong suspicion.
Lifetime missions. That's why the training's like
the
people that are adventurers and explorers. Like it's the final frontier of space to just go
travel forever, like a generation ship. Yeah, so she just sighs and turns to Kid and says, "They only go one direction, and that's away from Imperial space. So unless you want to take that job,
Kid doesn't say anything, and just from the same posture, slunched over, like rifle still there, just lowers their head back down onto the scope. Okay.
I want you to know that as a GM, I'm 100% on board with you just ditching this whole story of the ship and becoming Discovery explorers, because that's also very fun. None of your personal things would ever be resolved.
Nope.
Backstory, who cares? Figure out what happened to the heart.
Lucira is the only one that would get any backstory because it's an Imperial ship.
Yep.
So, are you going to hail the ship? It has not hailed you yet. But there's as you know, and the way that Lucira operates, there's a bigger chain of command where they have noticed you, and then they have to like ping around to layers, and then the captain would decide what to do.
Do Discovery ships and Imperial, do they what technical jurisdiction are they under? Are they at all involved in like military, or are they their own separate side branch?
They are almost exactly like the Enterprise in that they have military people on board, but they also have civilians. They have weapons. They probably are a more equipped ship than this, but their designation is to be self-sustaining onwards.
But be able to defend themselves in their explorations of the...
Yeah. And to defend others. But
would Kid know if they technically had to continue to abide by Imperial law once they were out of actual Imperial space?
Bureaucratic.
Kid would assume that once you're not in Imperial space, you could make the argument that you're not tied to it. But given that you're from Imperial space and these things are like almost celebrity ships, the people that man these ships do it because they love the idea of exploration. They're not going to turn around even if they legally were allowed to. they are legally allowed to. They can like captain their ship however they want, but the captain is probably not going to turn around.
Certainly not for us when they could just be like, here's some fuel, get the fuck out of here.
That is their general stance. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I think I will instruct Lucira to hail them if she's not already doing that.
Yep, I will hail them.
Ba-da-bum. Takes a little bit of time because you're further away, and a face appears. They have a green skin. It's very leaf-like in its texture, like almost like a stick insect type, where it looks more like it's flora than fauna. And a voice pops through. All of you hear the language that it speaks, which is a lot of clicks and crunching sounds, and then the commonality comes through on your universal translators. It says, "I am the comms commander of the IDS variants. We did not expect to find any ships in this space."
Yes, this is Lucira Shemdir, the XO of the. Did we ever get the name of the ship?
No.
Of the.
Name of the ship?
It doesn't have one. Or are you talking about their ship?
Our
Their
ship.
ship,
Yeah,
their
our
ship has a name.
Our ship does
Your
not
ship
have
doesn't
one.
have one.
Of this vessel. We are stranded out here, actually, and we are requesting assistance if you are able to provide it.
Give me one moment, and there's a mute, and there's like a nodding, and the comms come back on, and they said, "You said Shemdir?"
Yes.
They mute, and they're like, "Yes," to somebody off screen, and you see like this quite young-looking man, a face pop in. You don't immediately recognize them. But they seem to recognize you, and you are also broadcasting face. And the comms officer unclicks the comms and says, "If you can make your way to these coordinates, we will meet you there. We may have need of your services in particular for a few days, Commander Shemdir. But yes, we can help you with the things that you seem to need."
Excellent. We will make our way there. However, we are under sublight power only, so it'll take us some time, but we will make haste as best we can.
They give you like an access that you both travel on, and you eventually meet the ship. This ship has a big enough hangar space that you can dock in their hangar.
Rad.
And as you dock in the hangar, and the six of you kind of make your way down, are you all getting off the ship? Does anyone want to just stay on the ship?
I would.
Nah, good.
I would think I would prefer that Alejandro stay on the ship at least.
Sure, he will stay as the person in charge of everything, which includes security of the ship. The five of you walk down the ramp. At the base of the stairs, 4 people. The comms officer, green leaf-like skin. Flanking the man that Lucira you can tell is the captain, the young man that you saw before is the captain. A huge, hulking, like 8-foot tall but very broad-skinned man, broad-shouldered man, who is he's got like a really pronounced lower jaw, and tusks coming up from beneath from his lower jaw, and then quite a very plain-looking woman to the point that like as soon as you're not looking at her, you forget what she looks like, and you have to like double back and like wonder. But I would like you to make me a. I'm trying to think of what skill you would roll to remember somebody that you might know.
I think that'd be like a history check. So I feel like
Yeah, I took history out for this. What we'll do is do it as Imperial with intelligence, because this was during
Okay.
your service as an Imperial person. And it's not a bureaucratic person that you.
Dirty 20.
The man who still, even now, is boyishly young to you. Like, the two people flanking him are normal Imperial servicemen people. Like a really young, boyish child. There's a glimmer of like recognition from your time on the Tempesta, where you met so many people and trained so many people. But he strides forward and he says, "Oh, Commander Shemdir, Luther Zadwin, from the Tempesta. I served the military side, obviously. I left. I think you had just become the commander."
Oh wow, that was about 7 years ago now, or so.
Oh, it's hard to keep track of these things. I went to Imperial Space, was commissioned to the Variants, and we began our trek.
It's great.
But
It's good to hear.
as Rez has said, the comms officer waves. We might need your aid with something. We're having an issue with one of the privatization sectors of the ship, and our civilian commander is struggling to understand the nuance of the situation. And I remember very well that you were training people to do that.
Yes.
He kind of looks at the rest of you and says, this is an eclectic group.
Well,
So
Lucy will go through and introduce everybody in their roles or unofficial roles.
I'm still wearing a three-piece suit, by the way, because that's all I have to wear.
yeah, Kid has no clothes. It's just the clothes that Kid has is what they have.
Yeah, no, same with Lucira. Like she's still in her her half armor stuff.
He says, well, if we can borrow your second in command for a little bit of time, you can avail yourselves of all the shops, the recreation things. We have some relatively recent movies from before we left, if you would like to see them. And the woman kind of steps forward and, in a quite disrespectful way, nudges him. And he's like, "Oh, and Elowen here wanted to also mention that if you were interested in earning some credits, we did have an issue with something in the maintenance area that perhaps people that and you sense as they're having a conversation, but it's not verbal. And he turns around and said, "I'm not saying that because I'm the captain." And she steps forward and says, "Because you're expendable." And immediately covers her mouth and steps back and
Is this
begins
a bit
just
of is this a bit of gun work?
I don't. We don't know what the issue is. There was a when we jumped away from a somewhat dangerous situation, so we may have picked up some kind of passenger. It would be parasitic, if anything.
Space aliens.
We're worried that it's going to feed into the
Rats.
life support systems.
Sorry, I was fine until everybody else broke.
Just the way you said space aliens.
Everybody's an alien and
We're
space.
worried that it's going to interrupt the life support systems.
Right. Well, I mean, Lucira,
Does
that's up to you if you want to help these fine folks. I would suggest
We will reimburse you in whatever supplies you need to return to Imperial space.
I kind of look like, yeah, pretty good.
Has anyone
Captain,
actually
I think
scouted the area?
Lucira pointedly also introduced Valis as captain, not vice captain. just because she knows that she would definitely get some questions asked later if you were introduced as vice captain. Like, where's your captain at? So she's captain. If you, the rest of you in the crew, feels like they can spend a few days here doing some work, that's fine, and I'll join you guys again once I've helped resolve this personnel issue. This is kind of my bread and butter, so wouldn't mind getting back into it.
That sounds like a very solid plan.
As Lucira, you kind of step away with the captain, and the giant, broad-shouldered tusked man is the civilian commander for this ship. And he he starts explaining a very complicated bureaucratic situation that because you're not going to be here for next week, I'm not going to try and explain now. And Elowin kind of looks at the four of you, and still covering her mouth, you hear in your head essentially a ringtone, Valis, of that you have to accept for her to interact with you.
That's so polite.
You hear a very normal voice say, "That was unnecessary, but thank you. I mean, the gesture, the acceptance is important to my people. Walk with me, and I'll explain the situation to you."
Okay.
That's where we will end this situation and episode. Situation. 4:00 in the morning.
We're not gonna die in space in episode 3, you guys.
I didn't have to use.
Well,
dice.
there's
We
still
didn't lose
time.
I mean,
anything.
we might.
I was
I
I
really
mean, there's still time, but we are gonna die of starvation, so that's
well. Lucira's not going to die doing a bureaucratic
Yes.
loop thing.
that's true.
We might. Have
But yeah, I was very curious about if the impending risk would be enough that you would cannibalize the ship before this happened. And I feel like it was pretty close.
It was. Yeah, it's getting there.
God, those
If you fixed
runs.
2 days, it wouldn't have happened.
Kid was very
And
much on the
those-
side of would rather begin to cannibalize the greenhouse than the guns.
Yeah, that's why Nick specifically did not mention anything about all the organic matter in the greenhouse because I thought about it. And I was like, no.
I thought about it, and
No, I thought about it too, and I'm like, we need that to live.
I think Valis just hasn't been down there and wasn't considering it as an option.
We
Yeah.
can replant it.
Oh, I'm gonna. Are we good to
Anyway.
hop off then?
Yes, yeah, good then. Thank you for everybody for watching. Those that did, follow us on Twitch if you have Amazon Prime, or would just like to subscribe in general. Feel free. We do a lot of D&D nowadays. More than just the one stream. Follow us on. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We upload everything generally within a couple of days there. But thank you all. I'm really enjoying the dynamic of this group, and I think it will be interesting to see you take on the space parasite.
Worms. Bye, everybody.